Chapter 188. As soon as he finished speaking, Yunzi struck out with his palm. The bodies of cultivators were not as strong as those of demons and monsters. However, the difference was like heaven and earth when one stepped into the true realm. If a true realm cultivator's palm landed on the body, even the dragons who were known for their strength would be at a disadvantage. The two of them were so close to each other that the palm strike was unavoidable. Before he could see how the palm strike arrived, Yunzi's palm had already landed on Li Yunxin's waist. Then Yunzi used this palm strike to fly up into the sky. When a cultivator stepped into the transcendent realm, they could fly in the sky. However, people liked to have their feet on the ground. Flying in the sky was shocking and it was not convenient at all times. But now Yunzi realized that he seemed to have fallen into the opponent's trap. Even the platform under his feet made him feel uneasy. He was afraid that there was some hidden conspiracy. He thought that he was good at strategy, but now he encountered a strong opponent. When he was sure that he would win, the stronger the opponent, the more interesting it would be. However, once he became the one being played, he didn't have the mood to continue playing. Since he didn't have the mood to play, then he would use force to defeat 10. Right now, he didn't want to be distracted thinking about the various points that he couldn't figure out and the contradictions in his knowledge. He only wanted to use the realm of Daoist Enlightened Master and his Yin Spirit formation to directly kill that self-proclaimed Wei River Dragon King, Li Yunxin. Who cared if he was Li Yunxin or Dragon Son Chiwen? Then he would slowly think about what went wrong. He flew straight up into the sky, and a magic brush that shone with golden light floated out from his sleeve. Daoist Enlightened Master operated his spiritual power, and his body suddenly shone with multicolored light, as if a real immortal had descended to the world. First, the mystic light mirror appeared behind him, protecting his back. Then the mystic light mirror appeared from the mirror and formed a formation with swords in their hands. Some were glaring at him, some were laughing happily, some had a gloomy face and some looked distressed. All kinds of love tribulations he had gone through had been refined into this protective spirit child. Once the formation was complete, even a profound realm Daoist master would have to expend some effort to destroy it. This defensive technique was formed in a breath of time. Yunzi snorted coldly and waved his left hand in front of him. Immediately, a long golden scroll appeared in the void. It was thin and flexible, but it also pushed back the torrential rain, forming a golden shield of light. Then Yunzi grabbed the magic brush in midair and glared at Li Yunxin. "Little brat. Today I will first chop you into a Yin ghost and then refine you into." On the other hand, Li Yunxin, who was lying on the ground, did not move at all after receiving his furious palm strike just now. In the heavy rain, he raised his head and watched as Yunzi laid out the array formation around him. When the golden ball was formed and Yunzi started to spout arrogant words, he laughed maniacally. "You want to kill me? Dream on." As soon as he shouted, the entire platform of the godly dragon temple turned into powder. In the midst of the smoke and water, a dragon with a blood horn, black scales, and a snow-white mane rose into the sky and pounced on Yunzi in midair. Yunzi was only 1,000 feet away from the ground. As soon as Li Yunxin showed his true form, his body expanded, and the dragon's kiss arrived in front of him. As the saying goes, the wind follows the tiger and the clouds follow the dragon. As soon as his true form appeared, the heavy rain within 100 steps turned into thick clouds. The thunderous roars were deafening. Every time the iron scales on the dragon's body rubbed against each other, a thick, bright and dazzling bolt of lightning would strike Yunzi's defensive formation. As soon as the dragon's kiss and the bolt of lightning arrived, the entire area in front of Yunzi immediately flashed with golden light. It was as if countless small suns were shattered between the two. For a moment, only the dazzling light and the bolt of lightning were left in the sky. When a Daoist master wrote a talisman, the Taoist law restriction within 3 steps in front of him was far more powerful than that of Ling Kongzi. However, even if the restriction was more than 100 times stronger than before, it was still useless in front of Li Yunxin's true form. Because he was a dragon who had cut off all ties with this world. As soon as Yunzi wrote the 3 words, the dragon's body crashed into the spiritual children protective formation around the Taoist master. As soon as it crashed into the formation, it opened its mouth and bit. The giant mouth of the true form of Qi Wen could swallow Yunzi whole. However, as it bit down with the force of the wind and thunder, only half of the 36 spiritual children were swallowed in one bite. The other half of the spiritual children immediately split up and replenished the formation of the 36 spiritual children, allowing them to withstand the gigantic kiss. Although he had resisted Li Yunxin's fierce attack, Yunzi was greatly shocked. The 3-step barrier didn't work. Putting aside the barrier of 3 steps, how could his protective spiritual child dipper formation be broken in half in just one move? At this time, this dragon son was only at the transcendent realm. Because of the battle just now, the power of wish of the people inside and outside the city had increased greatly. He had gathered the power of wish of hundreds of thousands of people to break into the peak of the transcendent realm. But he was still only at the transcendent realm. The formation that even a profound realm Daoist master had to spend some effort to break. How could it be so fragile? There was no time to think carefully. He quickly finished the last stroke on the cloud. The 3 words he wrote now were the same words that Ling Kongzi had used when he was facing the 9th young master who was rushing down from the sky that night. Calm the storm. That night, when the 3 words calm the storm were written, the wind and clouds immediately dispersed. Dragon Sun's Qi Wen's 1,000 feet golden body instantly disappeared, and he fell straight to the ground. However, at this moment, when the 3 words were written, he looked at Li Yunxin's dragon body again. After the first attack failed, it immediately flew up into the sky, and then with the rolling thunder and lightning, it pounced down again. The Taoist spell also didn't work. Yunzi was stunned for a moment, and then he roared furiously, "What trick did you use?" Arrogant laughter came from the clouds and the heavy rain. "Wait until I tear you into pieces, then I will burn some joss paper for you to explain in detail." When the voice finished, the dragon body pounced again and hit Yunzi's protective formation. This time, half of the 36 spiritual children were swallowed again. Although the remaining 18 spiritual children were formed again, Yunzi could feel that the spiritual power in the formation was getting weaker and weaker, and it was going to be useless soon. On the other hand, the 300-meter-long dragon didn't linger on the battle. After it succeeded in its attack, it leaped forward. The iron armor on the dragon's body and its powerful tail struck out at the same time as it soared through the clouds, sending Yunzi and his defensive formation flying over 30 meters away in the air, causing him to be thrown into confusion. At this point, Yunzi's 3 steps barrier didn't work, and the Taoist spells and talismans didn't work. For some strange reason, the protective formation that he created couldn't be used to its full power. Originally, he still had the great nether spirit formation that Li Yunxin drew. However, at this moment, even the stupidest person knew that his plan was completely predicted by Li Yunxin. How could he dare to use the power of the great nether spirit formation? Although he wasn't hurt at all. But as a perfected Daoist, his pride and dignity as a perfected Daoist had been crushed by the abominable dragon's son. Being hit by the dragon's tail like a ball, how humiliating was that? Yunzi was so angry that he laughed. With a wave of his sleeve, the mystic light treasure mirror, the spiritual children formation, and the cloud scroll magic brush were all put into his sleeve. With a shake of his hand, a thin sword appeared out of nowhere. In the heavy rain and strong wind, he shouted angrily, "Today I will use this green light in my palm to kill you, you evil creature. Also, I will let you know how the body of a human cultivator of the true state is compared to your body of a demon." As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a green light and pounced at Li Yunxin. Yunzi was really angry and only wanted to fight head-on. That Li Yunxin didn't seem to be afraid. Instead, it seemed that he wanted to test whether his body at the peak of the transcendent state or that perfected Daoist body was stronger. The small green light and the dragon body collided, and there was a loud thunder in the thick clouds. The whole layer of clouds was illuminated by the light and turned into a golden color. It seemed that the sky was no longer a rain cloud, but a topaz that was about to collapse the city of Wei. Other people in the city of Wei looked up at the sky, but they didn't feel the danger at all. Yunzi's barrier separated tens of thousands of people from the city of Wei, and it helped Li Yunxin at this time. Those who were hiding in their homes because of the heavy rain naturally didn't know about the tragedy that happened on Taoshi Road and Willow Street. Now that he saw such a heavy rain, he immediately thought of the divine dragon cult. Then they thought of the rumor that Chi-Kiss Dragon Prince wanted to pray for rain, and then looked up at the sky. What they saw in the thick clouds was a golden light that was completely different from the usual lightning. The golden light was accompanied by an earth-shattering roar. It was as if a giant golden dragon was hovering and dancing in the clouds, bringing the long-awaited rain to the city of Wei and the fields outside the city of Wei. This was a real miracle. Such a miracle couldn't be dismissed by saying, maybe the Dragon King is calling for rain. Li Yunxin's power began to skyrocket. He was about to break through the peak of the transcendent state and reach the reality state. His real body and Yunzi's body fought for 6 rounds in the thick clouds, and then they quickly distanced themselves from each other. The green light in Yunzi's hand was already broken, and his hair was a little messy, but he still looked decent. He floated above the thick clouds below him. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled under his feet, while the clear blue sky surrounded him. The gray clouds were like an endless land. At this time they not only shrouded the city of Wei, but also a large area of wilderness forest and wilderness mountain near the city of Wei. He was shocked. Dao Tong wanted to deal with demons, so he naturally had to understand them. As for the demon's body, at the same level, a human cultivator couldn't compare with a demon. But there was no comparison at all when it came to a higher level. However, this conclusion was for ordinary fiendish demons. There were only 10 dragons in the world, and it had been a long time since anyone fought with dragons. Until now, Yunzi realized that either his power was severely limited, or the dragon's body was even more powerful than Dao Tong's most daring assumption. He was a perfected cultivator, and he had been in this state for decades. He practiced Taoism to refine his body, but now he couldn't even kill a dragon's son who was at the peak of transcendent state with 6 strikes. Yunzi let out a long sigh and stared at the real body of Qi when opposite him. The dragon's body hovered above the clouds, but a pair of fierce golden eyes were staring at him. His snow-like mane was dyed golden. That was the result of his second strike. The green light sword pierced below Dragon Sun's ear, which was supposed to be the most vulnerable part. But even so, the sword only managed to pierce halfway through before it was shattered by the retracted scales. That was a magical artifact known for its sharpness. There were 3 other wounds on Dragon Sun's real body, all of which oozed golden dragon blood. However, those 3 wounds did not seem to affect the giant beast at all. It was still preparing for the next round of attacks. Yunzi realized he couldn't fight anymore. Something was wrong. Because his pride was crushed, he was furious and wanted to kill him with his body. But now it seemed that fighting for 3 days and 3 nights might be able to kill Dragon Sun, but the opponent's plan wouldn't give him 3 days and 3 nights. The wisest choice was to run away immediately. That Dragon Sun couldn't hurt him, so he should go find that Kenzo true state cultivator. After the 2 of them met up, he would come back to take revenge. Having made up his mind, Yunzi shouted, "Good, good, good. Yue River Dragon King Li Yunxin. I've underestimated you again and again before, causing me to suffer a great loss. Now that I can't kill you, I admit defeat. But I can't kill you and you can't kill me. Remember today's matter. I won't forget it either. When I leave, I will come back to settle today's matter. At that time, let's see who's more brilliant. Today your formation didn't kill me. I will let you know what is called failure at the last step." After saying this, he glared fiercely at the real body of Li Yunxin, turned around and flew away. Li Yunxin, who was wrapped in clouds and mist, let out a burst of wild laughter. "You can't win and want to run? Idiot. Don't you know that no one who is targeted by me, Li Yunxin, can escape? From the day you walked into the city of Wei, don't think of walking out alive." Yunzi already vaguely understood the strange words that Li Yunxin said before. Villains die because they talk too much. So he didn't want to argue with him and only sneered, "I'll let you have some advantage with words today. When I come here again, I will pull out your tendons and pull out your tongue. Go ahead and chase me. Let's see if you, a demon in the transcendent realm, can catch up with me." As a perfected immortal, he really shouldn't have said the last words. It was like a kid throwing a tantrum or a ruffian in a street fight. But at this time he really needed this kind of advantage, even if it was just the advantage of escaping, to make himself feel better. But after saying this, he realized that he had made another mistake. Hearing, Li Yunxin, who was wrapped in thick clouds and mist, once again laughed wildly. Then he let out an earth-shaking roar. "Where is Emperor Yi? If you don't come to help me now, when will you?" Chapter 189. The first word Yunzi thought of was Yi Emperor. To the north of the Qin Kingdom was the Yi Kingdom. It was a buffer between the Qin Kingdom and the Li Kingdom. But he quickly realized that Li Yunxin was not talking about Yi Emperor. He was talking about Yi Emperor. The kingdom before the Qin kingdom was the Yi kingdom. A long time ago the Yi kingdom was a powerful country in the world. The present Qin kingdom and the Yi kingdom were both Yi territories 1,300 years ago. However, 600 years ago the Yi kingdom had split into Bei and Nani. Presently the Qin kingdom had inherited the territory of Nani. Nani was known as the legitimate Yi kingdom, while Bei had even changed its name. A terrifying thought flashed through his mind in an instant. His face immediately turned ashen, and he didn't even say a word as he plunged into the thick layer of clouds beneath his feet. The clouds were very thick. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. It was like hell. Yunzi was not afraid of the lightning. He shot down like a sharp arrow. Finally, he broke through the clouds and once again came into the pouring rain. He was still in the sky above the city of Wei. But looking down from here he could see the full view of the city of Wei shrouded in water vapor. And so, he saw what the people in the city of Wei could not see. The land of the city of Wei was boiling. It was like it had become sticky porridge. The houses and streets in the city were just illusions. Although the boiling land was an illusion and the houses and streets were real, Yunzi knew what could truly pose a threat to him. The tens of thousands of souls who had died in vain in front of the Dragon Temple were separated from this world because of his formation that forbade the fruit of fate. Thus, their souls were not taken away. At this moment, it seemed that Li Yunxin had dispelled his restriction. The tens of thousands of souls had been released. However, these tens of thousands were only a small portion. The entire city of Wei and the vast land outside the city were densely packed with souls. They were even denser than the raindrops falling from the sky. At this moment, this piece of land had almost become a ghost town. However, this was not what shocked Yunzi the most. The most unimaginable and terrifying spectacle was in the city of Wei. It was a ruined palace that had been destroyed by the flames of war hundreds of years ago. The appearance of the abandoned palace had changed. For hundreds of years, the palace had been sealed by the Daoist priest's evil warding formation, and the seal had been broken at some point in time. At this moment in Yunzi's eyes, the collapsed palace walls were erected once again, and the decaying palace hall was restored to its original form. This was a grand building complex where the last emperor of Dai was buried. It was built with white bones covered with living souls and decorated with gloomy clouds and sorrowful wails. It had been restored. A tall, majestic, gloomy and terrifying underworld palace appeared in the center of the city of Wei. In the center of the Xin Luo Palace, in the main hall of the Purple Gold Palace, stood a figure over 3 meters tall. He wore a crimson robe and a crown with a coiled dragon on his head. He was the Ghost Emperor. There were 2 Yin gods standing beside the Ghost Emperor. One of them looked like an old man. His hair and beard were long, but there was nothing special about him. The other one was a general in black armor riding a tall horse. He looked ferocious and his armor was also ferocious. He was surrounded by gloomy black fog. On his burnt face, a pair of eyes shot out green light, and he looked majestic without being angry. Yunzi sucked in a cold breath. This was really the Emperor Yi. However, the Yi dynasty had been destroyed for hundreds of years, and the last emperor of the Yi dynasty had also been dead for hundreds of years. How could his soul reappear in the world? And it was the body of the Ghost Emperor. Before he could think about it carefully, he saw the Ghost Emperor suddenly raise his head and stare at the thick clouds in the sky. His face was like melon skin and his eyes were like copper bells. As he spoke, the ghost chi around him was overflowing violently, forcing the heavy rain in the sky to move 100 feet away. His voice was like a huge bell and also like billions of creatures howling at the same time. I am Zhang, the Zhou Emperor of Dai. Today, a madman of Daotong slaughtered 36,114 people of Dai City. According to the law of Dai, he should be beheaded and executed immediately. Wei River Dragon King Li Yunxin. Today I will help you kill this madman as promised. 5th Bo Yu, the great general of the Golden Guards of Dai City, listen to my order. The general with the spear immediately turned his horse and ordered it to kneel in front of the Ghost Emperor. I am here. The Ghost Emperor stared at Yunzi in the sky and shouted angrily, send out the 1,000,000 ghost soldiers of Weidu, and light the flags in all directions. Help the Wei River Dragon King to form the formation. The general of the Ghost Emperor shouted, yes. Then he got up and galloped his horse through the heavy rain. He galloped along the wide middle road of the purple gold palace toward the outside of the palace wall. The first one was still a man with a spear and a horse. But after galloping for 100 steps, there were ghosts forming in the void beside him and under the ground. They followed him closely like the personal guards of the general. When he galloped out of the gate of the palace wall, the ghosts that were stirring underground suddenly became restless and agitated. They looked ferocious and maintained their appearance when they were alive and dead. They wore different kinds of clothes and followed closely behind Fifth Boyu, roaring and rushing forward. The tall ghost of the general of the Ghost Emperor passed through the streets and alleys, passed through the trees, passed through the houses and passed through the courtyard walls. He raised the spear in his hand and pointed it forward. He shouted sternly, "Where is the dragon martial army of Day City?" He couldn't hear or see clearly who responded to him. Those ghosts were emitting a misty green light, and their bodies were almost transparent. They crowded behind him so he couldn't see clearly. But indeed, after he shouted, a group of ghosts scattered everywhere let out ghost-like wails and wolf-like howls. It was as if they had been waiting for this moment for hundreds of years. After this roar, the ghosts that responded to him gathered in one place. Naturally, they couldn't see clearly in the sea of dead souls. But Yunzi, who was in the sky, could see clearly. Those spirits that had lost all rationality and were only left with their obsessions spontaneously gathered in one place, forming a loose and scattered group. But it was a real military formation. The military formation that protected the last capital of the Yi dynasty and the last emperor hundreds of years ago. The Ghost Emperor shouted again, "Where is the Dingxiang army of Day City?" Another group of Yin ghosts returned to him and they gathered more ghosts around him. The Ghost Emperor galloped around the city of Wei and shouted, "Dragon martial army, Dingxiang, eagle ascending, white cavalry, magic stratagem, tiger valiant, left Ling, right Wu, left Shao, and right guard." When he rushed to the Chongyang Gate in the south of the city of Wei, there were actually 10 legions and millions of ghost soldiers behind him. At first, the army was still in a loose formation. In fact, there were no more than 100,000 ghosts that belonged to the Yi dynasty hundreds of years ago. However, under the command of the Ghost General, the ghosts of the Yi army emitted a murderous aura that soared into the sky. It suppressed the hundreds of thousands of ghosts that came out of nowhere and caused them to shiver. All of them were dragged into the formation by the Ghost Army. Once the formation of millions of ghost soldiers was formed, the faces of the ghost soldiers became more and more blurred. In the end, they gradually turned into the generals, captains, flags of the 3 armies, and even 10 huge black cloud flags fluttering in the heavy rain. The Ghost Emperor mounted his horse in front of the Chongyang Gate and looked up to the sky. Soon he heard the cries from the city of Wei gradually getting louder and finally spread to the whole city. It was not the cries of the ghosts, but the voices of the hundreds of thousands of residents in the city. The million ghost army was invisible. But the strong murderous aura would always be noticed by the people in the world of the living. For example, the chickens and dogs in the house, the snakes and rats running around, and even the mortals who were born with the yin and yang eyes could see the ghost soldiers passing through. It was terrifying. Because of these abnormalities, most people were afraid that there would be an earthquake on this rainy day, so they rushed out of their houses in the heavy rain. However, when they rushed out of the house, it was the time when the millions of nether soldiers formed into an army. It was also the time when the Wei River Dragon King rushed out of the thick dark clouds and the intersecting lightning. For the first time, the people saw the dragon with incomparable clarity. Even if it was not Shinryu, who knew what Shinryu really looked like? And the huge dragon that was circling and dancing in the sky had a snow-white mane, a pair of crimson horns, and 2 long whiskers that were winding around its body, emitting golden light. It was so huge that people who were like ants on the ground could still see its figure in the heavy rain. The power of faith burst out like a landslide and a tsunami. In Yunzi's life, he had never been in a daze for such a long time. A full quarter of an hour. He saw the Ghost Emperor appear, the ghost soldiers formed into an array, and the hundreds of thousands of people filling the streets of the city of Wei. He saw Dragon Sun in the sky and let out an earth-shattering shout. He realized that he had lost completely. He did not even know which part was planned by Li Yunxin, which part was good luck, and which part was made up for by him. But he only knew that everything was interlinked and flawless. Everything he had plotted and schemed against was a part of the other party's plan. He turned to look at Li Yunxin and shouted crazily, "How dare you show your power in front of hundreds of thousands of people? If I Daotong know about this, I will kill you. Your end is near." The dragon body wrapped in clouds and mist roared at the sky, and the sound could be heard for hundreds of miles. With this roar, the body of the dragon, which was originally 100 feet long, suddenly expanded. It jumped to 2,000 feet, and with another turn, it had stretched to 3,000 feet. And at this moment, Yunzi was really like a little ant standing in front of a person. The lightning reflected the 3,000 feet long dragon body with a cold light. This way River Dragon King grinned coldly, and his voice shook the heaven and earth, and everyone could hear it clearly. "You evil maniac! You fled to the city of Wei, slaughtered 30,000 people in the city of Wei, and refined your evil array. I, Wei River Dragon King, protect this place and protect the peace of this place. Now that you are so arrogant and evil, I have to show my true form to eliminate the evil for the people. What do you think Daotong has to say?" Yunzi realized what the other party was doing, just like what he did on the high platform. He immediately used his supernatural power and shouted, "It is obviously you," but he only said 4 words. He found that he could not use his supernatural power. Previously it was only the barrier of 3 steps that did not work. Then it was his lack of strength, and his Dao was also ineffective. Now he could not even transmit his voice from 100 miles away. The other party's restriction on his power was getting stronger and stronger. He was shocked, and at this moment he only wanted to escape from this place. He did not say anything more and turned around to leave. But this time the huge dragon behind him chased after him and did not let go of his trace. Yunzi realized in despair. That way River Dragon King had actually advanced to the true state with the help of the power of wishes of the hundreds of thousands of people. This despair finally crushed Yunzi's heart. He looked down. He saw that the millions of nether soldiers had already divided into 10 groups, and were heading to all directions of the city of Wei, but he did not know what they were going to do. He looked back. The huge beast's bell-like eye was as big as a big house, and his usually sturdy body was not even as tall as one of the fangs in the beast's mouth. As a true state Daoist, he could only use his mystic enlightenment Dao, but he could not use it. The opponent's strange array had completely restricted him, and he did not even know how it was done. Originally he could still use the strong body of a true state cultivator, but now, that dragon son had also entered the true state. How could the body of a human cultivator compare to that of a demon? If he did not deliberately want to play with this Li Yunxin, if he listened to Lin Liangzi's advice, before he had completed his preparations, a true talisman could have killed him. Yunzi was angry and annoyed, and he looked up to the sky and let out a blood-curdling roar. After this roar, the true state cultivator finally saw the reality, and decided to cut off his wrist. However, it was not only his wrist that was going to be cut off, but also his body. Once a cultivator entered the true state, he was called Immortal. This Immortal did not refer to the body but to the soul. When the body of a Daoist was destroyed, the soul would be damaged just like a normal person, and only the soul would be left. But a Daoist's Dao was profound, and at the moment of becoming a ghost, he could retain a trace of consciousness. After becoming a ghost, although his cultivation was greatly reduced and he had an obsession, he was still an immortal Daoist. Even if that Black Bai Yanjun came personally, it would take him a lot of effort to lure them away. And that Black Bai Yanjun was not a person who liked to cause trouble. If there was no special need, he would not pester the soul of a Daoist. This known world had more than 1 billion people, but there were only a few hundred Daoist, not to mention the number of Daoist who died a violent death. Therefore, after Yunzi roared, he turned around and used all his strength to pounce on the huge beast. In the sky, in the curtain of rain, a long bright line suddenly appeared, and then this bright line crashed into the head of the huge dragon with a rumble. But the result was already within his expectations. The Qi-Wen giant beast only needed to bite fiercely, and its sharp teeth wrapped in lightning immediately bit the body of the Daoist into a mist of blood. As soon as Yunzi's body was destroyed, the ghost immediately escaped. Li Yunxin suddenly shook his head, and his 2 long whiskers were like 2 electric whips, lashing at the ghost. But it actually passed through the body. He roared again, and the 9 heavens thunder fire that had once destroyed the soul of the messenger of death condensed in the clouds. But he was still unharmed. At this time, after the two attacks did not succeed, Yunzi's ghost calmed down. The ghost suddenly stopped in midair, turned his face and stared at Li Yunxin and shouted sternly, "Do you know that the soul of a Daoist is immortal? Today my body has been destroyed and there is no hope for me to cultivate. But I will definitely return to Daotong and explain everything today. I want you to accompany me in death, accompany me in death. Accompany me in death. Accompany me in death." In the end, the huge dragon also stopped pursuing. He coiled his body in the clouds and mist, the snake's body and head erect and lightning curled around his body. He stared at the small human ghost in front of him that was like a speck of dust. After a moment of silence, he let out a pleased and cruel laugh. "You think that at this step, I have already calculated everything and there is no other way. Back then you also thought that I had already calculated everything in building bridges, roads and canals and was at my wit's end. Idiot! Can't you learn your lesson? I have endured humiliation for 2 months, done so many things in this city of Weishui and arranged so many things. Do you think I only wanted to destroy your body?" Li Yunxin roared. "This is just the beginning. Stupid Daoist. Hehe. Destroying your body was originally the most difficult step and now you idiot have actually done it for me." Then at this time, the huge dragon lowered his head and suddenly leaned close to Yunzi, revealing a mouth full of fangs and laughed sinisterly, "I'm really starting to kill you." Chapter 190. Such cruel and gloomy words were squeezed out from the beast's mouth, but Yunzi didn't dare to respond with a sneer, because he had now realized that anything this terrifying enemy said might not be a threat. Although he didn't know how Long Sun, who had just entered the true state, could kill the soul of a Daoist master, but he knew that just half an hour ago, something even more impossible had happened. This Li Yunxin, under his nose, set up such a plan that he completely didn't know. With his original cultivation level, he destroyed the body of a Daoist master who had cultivated for decades. In his known history, such a thing had never happened. He finally learned his lesson and learned to be obedient. But it didn't mean that he would give in. The path of cultivation was full of difficulties and obstacles. If he lost his soul and knelt down to beg for mercy, he would never reach the Daoist master level. Yunzi's soul raised his eyebrows. His expression and appearance were almost the same as when he was alive, but it was obvious that he was more irritable than when he was alive. Because the obsession of revenge had affected his mind, he was almost an ordinary person. "It's not over." The ghost gritted his teeth and said, "There is still a Daoist master in Kenzo, he will bring the news out. I don't believe that you can kill a second Daoist master. Daotong will not believe the nonsense of a cunning demon." The ghost's eyes turned and suddenly laughed. "I will become a martyr. Daotong will not rest until you die. What method did you use to take over that Long Sun? Hehe, Daotong will think that you are a demon and that dragons will seek revenge on you. You will never have peace." "Oh." Long Sun nodded slightly. Compared to the ghost of the Taoist priest, his head was so huge that when he nodded, the cloud and mist surged up like a roaring wave and drowned the ghost. After 2 breaths, the cloud and mist receded, and the ghost was surrounded by wisps of white smoke, as if it had just emerged from the tide. "Killing a perfected one is indeed my limit," Li Yunxin said in a happy but serious tone. "From the first day you came to the city of Wei, I've been thinking about how to get rid of you. Fortunately, you're a smart person and aren't willing to use pure violence to solve the problem. That's how we ended up in this situation. A true master of the Kenzo. Indeed, it's not easy for me to make a move against him. That's because I learned a little about Daotong's tactics from Lu Ling so I could deal with you. Kenzo. This prince is not very familiar with it." However, the godly beast's huge golden eyes turned and he suddenly laughed evilly. "But do you think I don't have any helpers?" Seeing his smug expression, the ghost seemed to become angrier and more irritable. He pointed at the city of Wei. "That ghost emperor. Just a true state cultivator and a ghost emperor at that. He was not a match for a true Kenzo cultivator. Even with you, that Kenzo will be able to escape. Idiot." Li Yunxin snorted coldly, his voice like muffled thunder. "Look outside the city of Wei, 30 miles to the north of the Wild Mountain, and see what you see?" The ghost got his advice and didn't ask how he knew the situation over there. He just used his eyesight to look over there. Then he suddenly opened his eyes wide. Outside the city of Wei, 30 miles to the wild mountain. It was drizzling. This place was already outside the city of Wei, and the wildfire 2 months ago did not affect this area. The rain clouds over the city of Wei 100 miles away brought the remaining rain to this place. But what came was not the heavy rain, but the refreshing drizzle of a cow's hair. Some people would go out with oil paper umbrellas in such weather, or simply experience the pleasure of the drizzle soaking their skin. But there was one person who didn't seem to like rainy days at all, and even more disliked being wet. A girl in white with her hair tied loosely behind her head and a plain wooden hairpin was standing in a wooden post pavilion by the roadside. But her little donkey with shiny fur was standing in the rain on the other side of the road, eating the tender grass covered with fine water droplets. It seemed very happy. The roof of the post pavilion was covered with green vines, and the walls were covered with moss. The drizzle slowly formed puddles on the muddy ground outside the pavilion, and the puddles extended into thin streams, soaking the ground in the pavilion. But the water was afraid of the girl. It avoided her. Yunxin held the reins in her hands. Together with the little black donkey on the other side of the road, they drew a line on the road. She silently looked into the distance. There were verdant light green mountains, winding muddy roads, and wild grass with flourishing little flowers on the roadside. In the sky behind her, the muffled thunder rolled and the golden light shone, but she ignored it. She even looked a little angry. She stood like this in silence for a long time, until the thunder and lightning finally subsided, until she felt the terrible aura of the netherworld 100 miles away and finally frowned. 6. And at this time the person she was waiting for finally came. It was a swordsman. He stepped on his flying sword and flew through the air. He turned into a stream of light that pierced through the sky, leaving a long trail of clouds high in the sky. But the trail of clouds suddenly stopped at the post pavilion on the road. The swordsman in the sky disappeared. In the next moment, a young man with a sword on his back walked out from the wild grass by the roadside, and even picked a white flower to put in his Daoist bun. He looked young and handsome as if he was in his teens. But Daoists also had ways to maintain their appearance, and no one would really think that a Daoist master was only in his teens. This Daoist master Kenzo Daoist master Tong Fingzi smiled as he walked to the post pavilion, and stopped in front of the reins that blocked the road. He looked at Bai Yunxin and then at the little black donkey. Then he stretched out a finger and flicked the reins. The water droplets on the reins were flicked off by him. Then he heard the girl in white use a clear yet soft voice, like the cry of a crane, to softly say 3 words to him in such a romantic and wonderful weather. Cross the line, die. The young swordsman blinked and spread out his hands awkwardly. Miss Bai, I was entrusted by someone. Bai Yunxin slowly raised her head and looked at him. A pair of black and white eyes suddenly turned pure black. The swordsman hurriedly took 3 steps back and said, Okay, don't be angry, I won't go. As he spoke, he looked up at the sky above the city of Wei. After a while he squinted his eyes. It seems that there is nothing to take. Then he cupped his hands towards someone in the sky and said with a mischievous smile as if he was begging for mercy, I'm sorry. Bai Yunxin did not look at him. She still stood silently in the post pavilion. But the swordsman did not leave. The swordsman stared at the girl for a while, but she did not respond. Until the swordsman's hair was soaked by the rain, he scratched his neck. Miss Bai, I heard that your feather coat has fallen into the hands of the Lord Dongting. Bai Yunxin turned her head to look at him expressionless and suddenly smiled. Why do you want my feather coat? The swordsman hurriedly waved his hand. Of course not. We all know that Miss Bai said 1,000 years ago, whoever can take the feather coat away from you will. Alas, I don't want to take your feather coat away from you, but you don't like it. You will catch up with me and tear me apart. The smile on Bai Yunxin's face suddenly disappeared and she became calm again. Then get out. The swordsman still did not leave. He just smiled mischievously. Then who is so important this time that Miss Bai is here? Before he finished his words, the girl suddenly turned hostile. Without any warning, she suddenly raised her hand. There was a sharp buzzing sound in the void, and a row of feather-shaped shadows rushed towards the swordsman along with her big sleeves. Tong Fingzi's face immediately changed. Without any movement, the flying sword behind him leaped out with a swoosh and shielded his body, taking a solid hit. Just one blow and he was sent flying. The swordsman, with rolling airwaves, sparks, and amazing spiritual energy fluctuations, was sent flying from the front of the post house to the faint green mountains far away. After a long time, only then did the broken tip of the sword whizzed over and landed on the barren mountain. In an instant, more than 200 meters high mountaintop was shaved off. An Yunzi's ghost witnessed all this. Your reinforcement is a smart person. Li Yunxin sneered. The ghost's green face turned black. He stared at Bai Yunxin for a while and then stared at Li Yunxin. That witch. Why would she help you? What did you do in private? Ah, I'm so angry. His anger made his body swell up slowly, like a middle-aged man who was getting fat. What's wrong with Emperor Yi? What the hell? You wish. I tell you, do you think you can sit back and relax after driving him away? That coward is just an enlightened immortal. The great master of Langya Cave Heaven. Do you know that great master? The great master of Langya Cave Heaven who has reached the mysterious realm. Kun Wuzi. Kun Wuzi, who is about to enter the mysterious realm, is also here. It's only 1,000 miles away from the city of Wei. When he comes, hee hee ha ha humph 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 humph, you can't escape, he will know everything. Humph ha ha. Li Yunxin slowly raised his head. If he was still in his human form, he would find that he was frowning and a little surprised. In just a few minutes, the tone of Yunzi's ghost became more and more familiar. It reminded him of Sanhua. This ghost's reason was disappearing quickly. Li Yunxin wasn't sure if it was because her array had restricted his Dao technique, causing him to be unable to maintain his consciousness. This wasn't a good sign and wasn't part of his plan. What he needed was a soul of an immortal who was stubborn and unreasonable but still had consciousness and could remember many things, not a muddle-headed ghost. Right at this moment, when Li Yunxin was about to do something, a figure quickly formed in the rain. The rainwater gathered and formed the silhouette of a middle-aged man. The silhouette was filled with colors and became lively. After a breath, the human figure was completely plump, and the sleeves of his robe fluttered in the wind. The newcomer wore a purple gold crown with 8 treasures and a robe with flowing clouds. He had a long beard, a high nose, and phoenix eyes. He was a rare handsome man. As soon as Yu Yunzi's soul saw this person, he immediately began to yell. Great master! The demeanor and calmness of a Daoist enlightened master was gone. He looked like a spoiled child. He was so happy that he danced and even wanted to give the other person a hug. But he was a ghost. The Daoist in front of him, who was only 1 level away from the peak of the profound realm, was just a clone made from rainwater. So the two of them crossed each other and didn't hug each other. But the ghost's joy didn't decrease. He suddenly turned his head to look at Li Yunxin. His face showed a cruel and resentful expression. Great master. Kill him. Kill him. Avenge me. I'm the great master of Daotong's Langya Cave, Kun Wuzi, who was at the peak of the profound realm, slightly raised his hand and pressed down. The ghost was immediately frozen in place and couldn't move. He knew that the great master was very dissatisfied. Even if he had a lot of things to say, he could only stay silent for the time being. The profound realm Daoist carefully looked at the mountain-like giant beast not far away. After looking for a while, he raised his hand and bowed. He asked politely, "Why did Wei River Dragon King kill my Daotong cultivators?" The clouds and mist suddenly completely wrapped around the mythological beast. A moment later, the clouds and mist dispersed. Li Yunxin revealed his true appearance. He transformed into a white robe. His clothes were simple but not shabby. The robe fluttered in the wind. No matter his appearance or aura, he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. I am Li Yunxin, also Wei River Dragon King. He looked at Kun Wuzi and said in a deep voice, Great Master, have you heard of the name Li Yunxin? I heard that Linger died in your hands. Of course I have heard of it. Li Yunxin was slightly stunned. He quickly glanced at Yunzi's ghost. The ghost seemed very uneasy. He immediately speculated based on the limited details in his mind. Finally, he came to an unexpected conclusion. Ling Kongzi knew his true identity. Yunzi also knew his true identity. But this great master, the master of the heavenly grotto, actually didn't know. Strange. But now wasn't the time to think about this. He had to probe this profound realm Daoist's actual strength. Great mastery, profound realm. Then we have something to talk about. He temporarily buried the doubts in his mind. He stretched out his hand and a folding fan appeared in his palm. But this bamboo fan was no longer made of white paper. There was a painting of mountains and rivers on the surface of the fan. When Yunzi walked out of the profound light treasure mirror for the first time, Li Yunxin had drawn this painting on the rattan chair. Then he wiped the surface of the fan. A clear light appeared in his hand. He flipped his wrist again. He frowned and thought for a while. Then he shouted, "Appear." The wisp of clarity immediately expanded, turning into a round top and a dazzling golden moon halo. Then this moon halo floated in the air. Li Yunxin stepped on it. Then he took out a rattan chair from his folding fan and sat on it. Only then did he heave a sigh comfortably and reveal a smile. After all, I've just entered the real state and I can't compare to the two old drivers. It's still difficult for me to fly. This is too presumptuous. Yunzi's ghost stared at the moon halo under Li Yunxin for a while. Finally, he couldn't help but shout, "Is that my profound light treasure mirror? How can you command it?" Chapter 191. Li Yunxin looked at Yunzi and shook his head regretfully. A good Daoist became a retarded child. I really feel sorry for him. Kun Wuzi slightly lowered his eyelids and Yunzi stopped screaming. Then he looked at Li Yunxin. "Why does Dragon King feel sorry for him? You were also the one who destroyed his physical body." "Because he came to the city of Wei to kill people." Li Yunxin pointed at Yunzi's ghost with his folding fan. "Of course we are all adults and some things are not clear. But in general, you are the ones who offended me from the beginning. Miss Lu of the Gui Cave found me and asked me to go up the mountain with her. Of course I didn't want to, so she wanted to kill me, so I had to kill her. Then this gentleman came to the city of Wei and wanted to get involved in the muddy water. He even had some bad thoughts in his heart, so I had to kill him too. In fact, it is so simple." Kun Wuzi nodded. "So Dragon King is not wrong." Yunzi shouted, "This man is not Dragon King. That Chiwen is already dead. But Li Yunxin and Kun Wuzi didn't care about him. Li Yunxin smiled. "I didn't go all the way to the Gui Cave to make trouble, but two big things happened in the city of Wei. One time half of the Taoshi Road was destroyed and half of the Wilderness Mountain was burned. The other time is now. If you were here just now, you would have seen a lot of dead souls. Yunzi killed tens of thousands of innocent people. I know the first commandment of cultivators, he deserves to die." Kun Wuzi looked at the ground under his feet. There used to be a shiraba in the city of Wei, but the heavy rain had washed away the blood and flesh. However, the blood of tens of thousands of people was not so easy to clean. From the sky, some parts of the city of Wei were still pink. But he couldn't see the ghosts anymore. The banners and the millions of Yin soldiers had scattered in all directions, but they had all vanished without a trace by now. This was also one of the things he was afraid of. He could sense the intense resentment in the air even from 1,000 miles away. But now that his avatar had arrived, the Yin soldiers were nowhere to be seen. But it did not disappear without a trace. There were always traces to follow. Kun Wuzi could sense that the millions of Yin soldiers were still around, but he simply couldn't locate them. He was a spiritual master who had reached the mysterious realm. The profound realm Daoist master smiled and said, "How do you know it wasn't Dragon King who killed them?" After all, Tongfu was an enlightened Daoist master. He would not easily violate this rule. After all, the Dragon King is a demon. Li Yunxin realized that the word "same application" was probably used by Yunzi in the secular world. Kun Wuzi sighed softly. "Previously, I had a conversation with my friend from 1,000 miles away. I know that Dragon King was only at the state of transcendent. Now that the Dragon King is a perfected master, Tongfu almost lost his mind. It can be seen that the Dragon King spent a lot of effort to destroy his body. Until now, the land around the city of Wei is still a hidden array. I'm ashamed that I can't see through it. I'm just saying that the Dragon King is a demon and so is Emperor Yi. The two demons killed a cultivator of Daotong and many people died in the city. Moreover, the Dragon King needed the resentment of the Yin soldiers to form the array." Kun Wuzi smiled faintly. "I think that the Dragon King killed them. Daotong will probably think so too." Li Yunxin looked at him and was extremely surprised. "You are pushing the blame to others. That is not the truth." Kun Wuzi shook his head and smiled. "It's not what the Dragon King thinks. I mean that he killed people or looked like he killed people or even Tongfu. But the one who made Tongfu reach this stage was actually the Dragon King. Can the Dragon King say that Tongfu killed tens of thousands of people wasn't part of your plan? Li Yunxin stared at Kun Wuzi for a while and the surprise on his face faded away. Then he smiled. Oh, that's what you mean. His head is his own, his body is also his own. I didn't use a knife to force him. You were a human in the past, right? But what method did you use to possess Dragon Son? Kun Wuzi said indifferently as if he wasn't surprised by this. Because he had experienced too much. After experiencing too much, he realized that he knew too little. Thus, he knew that there were many strange things in the world and there was no need to be surprised by everything. This seemed to be the opposite of Yunzi's confidence. You possessed Dragon Son and became the Dragon King, but it should still be the human heart. Since it is the human heart, you can still use the lives of tens of thousands of innocent people to plot against a cultivator. Li Yunxin, you are indeed a demon. My head is on your shoulder, you can think whatever you want. Li Yunxin sighed and sat up straight. Kun Wuzi smiled. In the future people will think so too. You want to kill me? Yes. But I won't act rashly for the time being. Kun Wuzi raised his hand and twirled his beard. I only need this incarnation to kill you. It won't take much effort. But you seem to have a lot of secrets and I want to know them. But if I kill you, I can't guarantee that your divine soul won't be damaged and you might not remember so much. Besides, you are a real person. But I will bring Tongfu's soul back to the sect. What he said is probably the truth. On this point I can't compare to the demons. Dragon King probably won't understand that Dao Tong is the righteous path of the world, and it needs some facts and evidence. It can't just be said by I understand this point. Li Yunxin snorted coldly. Many individuals who don't really care about order and justice gather together, but they have no choice but to care and be restrained, on the whole. Because if they don't do this, these individuals will fight among themselves and kill themselves. This is a very interesting phenomenon. Kun Wuzi was stunned for a moment, and then he smiled sincerely. Dragon King's words are also very interesting and it sounds reasonable. Indeed. Thus, when Dao Tong confirms the evil deeds of Dragon King in Wei River, we will most likely not be restrained like Tongfu when we act then. There are some unwritten rules between Dao Tong and demons. Not killing a real person is one of them. After saying this, Kun Wuzi paused for a while. Looking at Li Yunxin, he couldn't help but smile as if he felt that Li Yunxin was indeed an interesting demon, so he added, even if you want to kill him, you have to do it cleanly and smoothly. If Dragon King can't destroy Tongfu's soul today, then it won't be cleanly and smoothly enough. Li Yunxin was silent for a while and then he frowned. You mean? He asked tentatively. You mean actually killing Yunzi isn't a big deal, as long as he's dead and there's no evidence? Because there are some unwritten rules between demons and Dao Tong. So if there's no excuse, we can only suffer in silence? Kun Wuzi laughed. Dragon King can think of it this way too. But the reason why we don't kill a real person is because this kind of thing is very difficult to clean up. The soul of a real person is extremely difficult to destroy. At that time Dragon King can make up a lie and Tongfu can confront Dragon King. Who will Dragon King say is in the right? Naturally Dao Tong is in the right. Kun Wuzi stopped laughing and looked at Li Yunxin coldly, because Dao Tong is stronger than demons. So the reason is on Dao Tong's side. So I will naturally take revenge for Tongfu. But I'm not in a hurry. Li Yunxin sat on the rattan chair, and under the rattan chair was the profound light treasure mirror. His body was surrounded by clouds, and under the clear light of the profound light treasure mirror was a faint golden color. This made him look like a god sitting on a throne high in the clouds, just that this god was being threatened by the incarnation of another god. He frowned slightly and leaned on the armrest of the rattan chair, holding his chin and pondered for a while. Then he sighed. Then what you said just now, I want to sum it up. Actually, I just want to say one thing. No matter why your people offended me, you can only blame me for killing them. Now your clone is standing in front of me and I can't do anything to Yunzi's soul. So, you brought him back and you have a legitimate reason to deal with me, and you can also answer to the demons. Anyway, you're strong and you're in the right. Kun Wuzi didn't want to answer him and he didn't even bother to smile. He stretched out his hand and the sleeve of his robe became extremely big. It looked like it was going to sweep Yunzi's soul into it. At this moment he heard Li Yunxin say, "I advise you not to do this." Wei River Dragon King stood up, and the expression on his face was no longer calm but cold. "I was hoping that there would be a few reasonable people in Daotong, but I'm very disappointed." He waved his hand and put away the rattan chair. Standing on the profound light treasure mirror, he was surrounded by layers of clouds. "And sometimes, your senses might not be as sharp as that of your Tongfu. You only created a clone and you said that you're not in a hurry. It can be seen that you're a cautious person. You think that even if I'm in the true state I can still injure your real body with the formation I set up in Wei City. Unfortunately you guessed wrong. This formation has nothing to do with you. It's just used to deal with him." Li Yunxin pointed at Yunzi's soul. Kun Wuzi frowned. "I won't kill you today, but don't think that you have something to rely on. This formation of yours, what do you know?" Li Yunxin laughed and at the same time, pointed at the profound light treasure mirror below him. "Do you know why I can use this thing? Now if I'm willing I can even summon his 36 Tiangang spiritual children formation. When his body was destroyed I took away his magic treasures, and the reason why I can control them freely is because even his soul is mine, so how can his magic treasures not be mine? You want to bring him back to Daotong to look for his parents? My friend, you must be dreaming." Li Yunxin suddenly stopped smiling and squinted his eyes. He opened his folding fan and casually took out Yunzi's magic brush, and quickly drew a line on a landscape on the fan. Kun Wuzi saw it clearly. He had drawn out a child from the landscape. Once this was done, heaven and earth shook. Kun Wuzi had already felt the surging resentment in this place, but when he arrived, the million Yin soldiers that had spread out in all directions had already disappeared without a trace. He couldn't find the traces of those Yin soldiers, but he could feel their existence. At this moment he finally knew where those Yin soldiers went. They, a million Yin soldiers, were all refined into resentment and spiritual power and scattered around Wei City. Even Kun Wuzi couldn't kill a million Yin soldiers in such a short time. Then there was only one explanation. Those Yin soldiers didn't resist, but followed the order and voluntarily turned into resentment. Now this stroke of Li Yunxin's immediately became the eye of the formation. The spiritual power around Wei City and the resentment formed by the millions of Yin soldiers surged crazily, and even the pouring rain was temporarily pushed back into the sky. The resentment formed by the souls of millions of Yin soldiers was so powerful that it was more than 10,000 times, 100,000 times, or even 1,000,000 times more powerful than the faith of millions. The land around Wei City carried such a powerful and terrifying aura, so much so that even Kun Wuzi's expression changed. When Li Yunxin drew that stroke he immediately felt that something was wrong. Then he felt the violent aura surging around Wei City, and immediately shouted angrily, "Are you crazy? Once this resentment spreads out you will destroy half of..." He wanted to say half of the city of Wei. But when the words came to his mouth, he realized that half of the city of Wei couldn't be defeated. In the worst case half of the Qin kingdom would be destroyed and half of the land would become a land of resentment. How many people would die? Could make the celestial angry. But he didn't say the second half because that violent and terrifying resentment only appeared for a short moment. Then it suddenly disappeared without a trace. The sudden change caused the perfected person who had mastered mystical realm to be stunned in the air. He looked as if he was truly stunned. That kind of power. Where did it go? The next moment he unconsciously looked at Yunzi's soul beside him. It had disappeared. Then he turned to look at Li Yunxin's folding fan. Originally on the white paper fan, there were mountains and rivers drawn with different shades of ink. But now the mountains and rivers had become full of color. The painting was so realistic, it was as if the mountains and rivers around the city of Wei had become smaller and shrunk, and were stuck to the surface of the fan. Looking at it, it was a panoramic view of mountains and rivers with bright colors. If one used his eyesight to look again he would find that there were more details between the mountains and rivers. He could see the rocks on the mountains and the moss on the rocks. If his eyesight was strong enough he could even see the extremely small dust on the moss. And one person was also on the painting. That was Yunzi. Kun Wuzi was stunned for a long time before he raised his hand and pointed at Li Yunxin. You are the remnant of the painting saint." Li Yunxin looked at him calmly and closed his folding fan with a swoosh. "You see, now you can't complain. Just now those..." Kun Wuzi murmured to himself in disbelief. You should know this, Li Yunxin smiled. When you write talismans, the density of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is enough. But when the talismans are written into a formation, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth can't soak the talismans in spiritual energy, so it needs to be supplemented. For example, Yunzi killed 30,000 people to form his dark spirit formation. But the formation is too small. He thought that I drew a person in the city of Wei and the surroundings of the city of Wei, and that is my big formation. I don't like to be so petty. That person is only a part of my real formation. My big formation is half of the city of Wei. Yunzi used his own spiritual energy to guide the resentment of the 30,000 people to corrode my small formation, and he was very proud of himself. He thought that all my arrangements were used by him. But that idiot didn't know that I prearranged the meridians and acupoints in the human-shaped small formation, and he used his own spiritual energy to guide the resentment to flow through those meridians and acupoints. Isn't that person actually him? Li Yunxin held back his laughter as if he was very amused. Once this idiot's formation was completed, he had actually drawn himself into my 1,000 miles of river and mountains painting. Just now he foolishly asked me why his Dharma Tao didn't work, and why his body wasn't as strong as before. Half of his spiritual energy was drawn by himself, and half of his body was in my painting. How could it work? But what is drawn by the realm of the outer fringe is, after all, an illusion. What is drawn by the realm of the outer fringe is real, but it can be easily destroyed. The realm of the true. I am now in the realm of the true. I can use my spirit to draw a real thing that seems to be made by heaven and earth, but only when I reach the realm of the mysterious can I draw with the world. I don't have this level. But the resentment of millions of ghost soldiers in an instant near the city of Wei is enough for me to use the means of the realm of the mysterious. Although it is only once, it is enough for me to draw his soul alive into this painting. This is the means that we, the remnants of the art saint, can use in the realm of the mysterious, drawing with the world. Do you think my plan is brilliant? Kun Wuzi listened to him in a daze and suddenly raised his eyebrows. For the first time his face showed real anger. Since you are the remnants of the art saint, why do I need to kill you? Today this seat will. But my father is Li Chunfeng. Li Yunxin laughed. You dare to touch me? Kun Wuzi was stunned again and didn't speak. Note 1. The cultivators above the realm of truth are called immortal, and are all called Zhenren. The cultivators of the realm of truth, the realm of mystery, and the cultivators of the realm of supreme oblivion are all called Zhenren. This is a form of respect. Chapter 192. However, it wasn't because the name Li Chunfeng resounded like thunder in his ears. Rather, he seemed to have a faint impression of this person. However, he couldn't remember where he had heard of this person before. If he really didn't know anything about him, he would think that the other party was bluffing. If he had a thorough understanding of him, he would probably have a good way to deal with him. But looking at the current situation, he was stunned. In fact, for a profound realm cultivator who had lived for more than 500 years, having a slight impression of a person in his mind was already an incredible thing. 500 years. How many people must he have met? A cultivator's mind was clear and their memory was definitely good. And it was precisely because of this that this matter became quite strange. A situation that only people in the secular world would actually have appeared. I can't remember where I heard this name before. Li Yunxin heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. I've caught him. At least for now. The plan didn't include the appearance of a profound realm cultivator, but the other party still came. Fortunately, he came at the end of the battle and not when the dust had settled. Therefore, I borrowed the remaining power of the 1 million Yin soldiers and the 2 months of planning to form a dangerous and subtle balance with him. All of this was because of the uneasy gaze of Yunzi's ghost when he heard Li Yunxin mention Lu Ling to Kun Wuzi. That one look said too many things. It was like an extremely hard and smooth stone slab that had an extremely small crack. Right now, Li Yunxin wanted to pry open this crack, shatter the stone slab, and break out of this dangerous situation. Kun Wuzi was stunned and fell silent. After frowning and thinking for a while, he temporarily gave up on killing Li Yunxin and asked in a deep voice, "Who is Li Chunfeng?" Li Yunxin sneered proudly. He seemed to have no fear at all, as if he wasn't the least bit worried that this profound realm cultivator in front of him could pose a threat to him. He even took 2 steps on the profound light treasure mirror, challenging the patience of the Langya Paradise's sect leader, and then said arrogantly, "You actually don't know? TSK, how embarrassing. But don't you know that Ling Kongzi and Yunzi both know about it?" Without waiting for Kun Wuzi to speak, he continued, "However, I guess you won't want to know. Nor would he try to kill me. Because if you kill me, you'll have a hard time explaining yourself to the 2 saints. Speak clearly." Kun Wuzi said solemnly, "You only have 1 chance. If I think you are bluffing, I will kill you at once. As for what kind of trouble there will be in the future, there is nothing in this world that I, the son of Kun Wu, cannot handle." "All right. Since you ask me to speak so strongly, I will. But you can interrupt me at any time as long as you think it's necessary." Li Yunxin heaved a sigh of relief. "My father is Li Chunfeng and my mother is Shang Guanyu. My name is Li Yunxin. If I were still human, I would be 15 years old this year. Today, June 17th, is my birthday." Hearing this, Kun Wuzi's expression was calm. However, Li Yunxin kept staring at the other party's expression. As a profound realm Daoist who had never gone through this kind of training, the minute expressions on his face couldn't escape his eyes. At this moment, Li Yunxin told himself that if he were to use his incarnation to talk to others in the future, he had to make sure that his appearance was indistinct. Just like what Ling Kongzi had done in the past. Kun Wuzi's eyes slightly widened, the corners of his mouth relaxed and his jaw lowered. The profound realm Daoist had already done well. In this world, no one would be able to see through the emotions in his heart at this moment. However, only Li Yunxin knew of some instincts, which were effective even in the bodies of these high-level Daoists. After all, they hadn't separated themselves from their corporeal bodies. In essence, they were still human. The subtle expressions of the profound realm Daoist, which couldn't be controlled by his consciousness, conveyed a message to Li Yunxin. He was surprised. And the degree of surprise was very strong. Originally, Li Yunxin thought that the other party was surprised by the fact that he was only 15 years old. However, he soon discovered another detail. When he heard the name Shang Guanyu, Kun Wuzi's eyebrows twitched, and his nostrils widened. The scale of these subtle expressions was only a few millimeters. Perhaps even the changes caused by a strong gust of wind blowing on the face were more obvious than this. However, the powerful observation skills of a Daoist combined with Li Yunxin's unique knowledge that didn't exist in this world allowed him to see through the emotions of the profound realm Daoist. First he was surprised. Then when he heard the name Shang Guanyu, he was surprised and at the same time revealed a slight fear. Kun Wuzi was surprised because of his mother, Shang Guanyu. The fear was also because of her. Li Yunxin was slightly startled. As he slowly said the next sentence, he quickly recalled all the details of his mother in his mind, hoping to obtain a stronger and more powerful weapon. "It seems like you don't know about this. Then I guess the first time you heard the name Li Yunxin was because of Ling Kongzi's information. I appeared in the city of Wei and I was a powerful painter. And then you thought I was dead." Li Yunxin looked at him. Then something strange happened. "A transcendent realm Daoist of your Langya Cave sect knew about my identity, and a true realm Daoist also knew about it, but you, the sect master, didn't know about it. Then what if I tell you now that they knew about it for another purpose? Do you want to know?" Kun Wuzi was silent for a while. However, Li Yunxin knew that his heart wasn't as calm as he looked. The profound realm Daoist silence lasted for 3 breaths, so Li Yunxin knew his attitude. He said softly, "Ling Kongzi knew about me because, you also know, before she went down the mountain she went to see the 2 sages." Enough. At this point, Kun Wuzi frowned and interrupted him harshly, as if listening to one more word would make him feel uncomfortable. "It's not over." Li Yunxin sneered. "After hearing this, you must think that this is a matter between the 2 sages and you don't want to get involved. Then you should also know that since Ling Kongzi knew about it but you, the sect master of the Langya Cave sect, didn't know about it, it must be a secret and the 2 sages don't want unrelated people to know about it. So if you kill me, this matter will become a big deal and the whole world will know about it. Your 2 superiors will be very unhappy." Kun Wuzi took a deep breath and then exhaled as if he was going to leave. "Fine, I'll listen to what you said today and I'll investigate it later. Don't worry, my friend." Li Yunxin smiled and looked at Kun Wuzi. Do you think I said so much just to change the result of you not killing me? The profound realm Daoist frowned again. What else do you want? Sparing your life is already. The two low-level cultivators of the Ling Su sword sect also know about this matter. Your Daotong people are really rotten thieves. Li Yunxin stopped smiling. If it was someone like Lu Laodao who understood him as well as he did at this moment, they would realize that he was going to make a request. To a cultivator who had reached the peak of the profound realm. After he said this, Kun Wuzi stopped again. The cultivator was filled with resentment, but he couldn't release it. He was being led by the nose by a mere true realm demon, but there was nothing he could do. Li Yunxin didn't care about the profound realm Daoist's resentment. With a cold expression he continued, two low-level disciples of the Kenzo sect also know about this matter, and Yunzi, who is merely at the true realm, also knows about this matter. And they didn't know about this matter because the two sages didn't want them to. It was another mysterious person who told them. That mysterious person and the organization behind him also have the same goal as the two sages. I tried to understand these matters, but Yunzi refused to say. Therefore, the matter with Ling Kongzi involves the two sages, so you shouldn't know about it. But the matter with Yunzi involves an organization that doesn't seem to be friendly toward Daotong. Don't you want to know about it? Kun Wuzi was silent for a while and thought for a while. It seemed he had enough of the current situation. He snorted coldly. I'm not interested. Li Yunxin smiled slightly. It's your business if you're not interested. But I want you to do something else. Deal with the people in Daotong who know about this matter. Make them shut up and stop causing trouble for me. If you want to find out what the mysterious organization's goal is and where they came from, then help me with this. I'm also investigating this matter and I'm in a good mood. Perhaps I can share the results with you. Don't be in such a hurry to sneer. You're a profound realm cultivator and I know that you're much more brilliant than Ling Kongzi and Yunzi. But since I'm able to chat with you and keep my life, you should know that I'm a worthy opponent. Kun Wuzi was silent for a while and sighed. Are you really 15 years old? Yes, I am. How could you be so scheming? Li Yunxin smiled modestly. There are always geniuses in this world. Kun Wuzi didn't seem to know how to respond to his words. He stared at him with a strange expression for a while and then said in a deep voice, Tongzi didn't die in vain. Do have some skills. I'm also a person who appreciates talents. If you hand over Tongzi's soul to me, perhaps we can really talk about this matter of cooperation. That's impossible. Let's not talk about the fact that I can't create another profound realm-level formation. Let's talk about his soul itself. I'll be straightforward. Li Yunxin pointed at his folding fan. This is my temporary imperial residence. The reason I came up with a series of schemes before was to make Yunzi play tricks on me. There aren't many smart people who are good. I knew that he would definitely take the bait. Then I can get some information that I can use against him. When this guy was alive, he was right about one thing. The general situation in this world is roughly divided into two camps. The human Dao formed by Daotong and Kenzo, and the loose dragon dynasty formed by the demons. In the beginning, you guys were the ones who made things difficult for me, so I stopped being a human and became a demon. Right now, I'm in control of Wei River and Wei City, sandwiched between the two camps. Therefore, I need a proof of allegiance so that the demons can protect me. He waved his hand and opened his folding fan. This is my proof of allegiance. Yunzi is a high-level cultivator and he's doing quite well in Daotong. He knows a lot of secrets. The demons might be interested in them. Most importantly, he knows a lot of cultivation techniques. To the demons, they might not be the most important things, but there might be some who want to recultivate. Moreover, he said a lot of things before. Something like Daotong wants to declare war against the dragon dynasty. You know, the demons are like a plate of loose sand. However, once they face a huge crisis as a whole, it might be a different matter. At that time, they will be willing to accept me. After all, humans understand humans the best. Kun Wuzi should have been furious. But at this moment he wasn't. Perhaps his anger would be because of a mere youth talking nonsense, or something like that. However, at this moment Kun Wuzi already saw Li Yunxin as a real opponent. When fighting against an opponent of equal strength, one must get rid of all arrogance, conceit and contempt. Otherwise he would learn from Yunzi's mistake. A single person's words cannot be trusted. Kun Wuzi tried to point out the loophole in his words. with a serious and rational attitude. We can say that this is your scheme to make him form a wrong perception. Doubt on what he said is the truth. But in your place what he said we can disregard it as the truth. What you said makes sense. Li Yunxin nodded without hesitation. Therefore Kun Wuzi tried to say something else to make him give in. However, Li Yunxin continued, but what about 25 people? I don't know much about Daotong's history, but it has been a long time since 36 low-level cultivators died, even if they were low-level cultivators. But now I have 25 here. He finished his words. With a wave of the folding fan he pulled out a ghost from the mountain. Although Kun Wuzi couldn't recognize the name of the ghost, he could clearly see that it was indeed a cultivator. Once the ghost appeared he immediately shouted angrily, "Why did Master lie to me? Why did Master kill me?" Li Yunxin immediately asked him, "Who is your master?" However, the ghost, who was supported by his stubbornness, couldn't remember who his master was. Li Yunxin said, "But his Taoist name is Yunzi." The ghost instantly winked, as if he was so angry that he wanted to dig his eyeballs out. Yes. Why did Yunzi plot to harm me? Why did he harm me? Li Yunxin smiled slightly. A green light flashed in his palm and he pulled it back into the fan. Then he pulled out a few more ghosts under Kun Wuzi's eyes. They were the souls of the cultivators that Yunzi wanted him to kill in the city of Wei. After showing 6 of them he looked at Kun Wuzi and said, "That friend of yours lied to me to kill them just for his array. However, I have a way to preserve their souls. Before I killed them I told them who had ordered me to do it. Today when I was fighting with Yunzi these ghosts saw it from start to finish. If there are so many people, will Daotong go back on his word?" Kun Wuzi let out a long breath. "You are really, how can you have such means at such a young age?" Li Yunxin smiled and nodded. "So cooperate with me as soon as possible. Don't let yourself regret it later. That Lu Ling was arrogant but he was destroyed by me. That Yunzi was arrogant but he was killed by me. Don't follow in their footsteps. It's not a good thing to be so high profile." Kun Wuzi sighed. "Let me think about it." Li Yunxin's expression suddenly changed. He waved his sleeves and the mysterious light treasure mirror under him instantly flew into the clouds, leaving Kun Wuzi on the spot. "Then think carefully about how I got those millions of ghosts." His shout came from the thick clouds. "You don't know what's good for you." Chapter 193. Millions of Ghosts. A person sighed. His voice was shrill and his tone sounded helpless and slightly mocking. "Now that we have spent so much effort on him, it will be hard to replace him." It was still raining and the streets were still filled with people. They all looked up at the clouds in the sky. But at this time there was no sign of Li Yunxin and Yunzi fighting. Dark clouds were dark clouds, there was nothing special about them. But the Dragon King was still in the cloud and so was a Xian realm cultivator, but no one knew about it. And at the end of the old city street in the city of Wei, on the roof of the calligraphy and brush shop that originally belonged to Wang Xing, the son-in-law of the Yu clan, stood 2 people. One black and one white, both with their tongues out. It was Black by Yanjun. When Li Yunxin first met the 2 lords, the white Hell Lord's hat had the words, "Where did the man-eating demon come from?" written on it, while the black Hell Lord's hat had the words, "Where are you going after reincarnation?" written on it. But now, Bai Yanjun's hat had the words, "Empty," and the black Yama Lord's hat had the words, "Empty." Bai Yanjun looked at the crowd in the heavy rain while the black Yama Lord looked at the sky and the abandoned palace beside them. He did not speak. Bai Yanjun then said, If you didn't promise Emperor Yi back then, such a thing wouldn't have happened today. Millions of ghosts. Millions of ghosts. Hand them all to that kid. Let him set up a formation, and they will all be gone." The black Yama Lord still did not speak. After looking at the eerie abandoned palace for a while he said, "You were the one who received the benefits back then. That kid is here." After saying that, without bending his knees, he jumped down from the roof and disappeared in mid-air. Hearing this, Bai Yanjun turned and saw Li Yunxin's figure vanishing. He was standing under the roof in the rain and looking up at him. When the black Yama Lord disappeared, he smiled and greeted, "Are you here to check the results?" Bai Yanjun looked at the thick clouds above his head in astonishment. "You're not dealing with Kun Wuzi anymore? Thank you so much for your help. Now he's been fooled by me and he's angry and he wants to go but he doesn't want to go. He's in a fierce mental struggle. Li Yunxin smiled and bowed to Bai Yanjun. If he comes to talk to me later I'll still have to borrow his power. She knew that Li Yunxin would only be so polite and courteous when he was asking for someone's help, and it was very likely that he would turn his back on them. But Bai Yanjun still seemed to enjoy his compliments. He stroked his long tongue and laughed sinisterly. Hee. If I were you I would quickly send him away. Why do I have to drag him and not allow him to leave? He's a profound realm Daoist master. Once he gets the wrong idea he'll be able to send you away in the blink of an eye. This is a rare opportunity. Li Yunxin floated up to the roof and followed by Yanjun's gaze to look at the people on the street in the heavy rain. Those people raised their heads to look at the clouds, but they didn't know that the person they were looking at was right beside them, looking at them. Think about it, Yunzi is a rare figure in the city of Wei, not to mention a profound realm Daoist master. And a profound realm at that. Now that he's here and can talk to me for so long, I have to take this opportunity to open up the conversation. If I can, I'll make good use of it. Right now I've killed both demons and cultivators, offending people on both sides. Kun Wuzi thinks that I'm not an ordinary person, so he shows a little respect and curiosity to me, but it's not enough. I have to make him stand on my side, at least make people think that he's on my side. This is indeed a risk. But if I don't take the risk now, it'll be more dangerous in the future. It's a mess and I have to sort it out. The White Hell Lord chuckled. I like this kind of enthusiasm. And, if one day I see you fail to harm others and get harmed instead. Hee, that'll be more interesting. Li Yunxin also laughed with him. After laughing he said, I want to know about Emperor Yi. Bai Yanjun's face instantly showed a strange expression. Why are you curious about this? In case your investment goes down the drain. Li Yunxin still had a smile on his face but his tone was serious. I don't know what 1,000,000 souls mean to you. But you guys work hard to capture souls every day and even arrange for judges and ghost messengers. It's a tough job. Then I guess you'll feel heartache when you lose 1,000,000 souls. So I want to know what's the relationship between Emperor Yi and you, for you to spend so much money on him. Bai Yanjun didn't speak. Li Yunxin sat on the roof. Moss grew in the cracks of the roof tiles. After being soaked by the rain, it looked even greener and glossier. The heavy rain poured on the roof and flowed down the tiles, almost forming a small waterfall at the eaves. A few people were temporarily sheltering from the rain under the eaves, but they couldn't hear their conversation. But he didn't sit because he was tired. It was just a gesture to calm himself down after a high degree of tension. He sat down and pointed at the people under the eaves. Look at them. Cultivators don't care about them and you don't care about them either. But these individuals that you don't care about have gathered into a whole. That's the key to my victory today. So, my friend, I need to know some details. Some details you don't think are important, but they're very important to me. I don't know some things. Maybe it will become a fatal flaw in the next plan. I'm afraid your investment will go down the drain because of this. You'll be happy if I get tricked and suffer losses. But if I get tricked and die, you won't be happy. You've helped me so many times and I'm grateful. But I know I didn't conquer you with my looks alone. You must hope that I have other uses in the future. So I think since I've invested so much today, you should explain some things to me clearly. It's better to make it clear in advance so that we can talk about it. It's better than breaking up later. Bai Yanjun listened to his words and was stunned for a while. Then he suddenly laughed. He laughed and pointed at the cloud above his head. You little brat, you're using the method you used on him on me. This is what you meant by, at least make people think that you're on my side, huh? Li Yunxin sighed. Stop it. I'm serious. He'll come to talk to me in a while. If I don't need your help then I'll have to use my trump card. Bai Yanjun's eyes widened. Because of that, stop it. But he really didn't know how to answer him, so he couldn't just brush his sleeves and leave. He was stunned for a moment and pretended that he hadn't heard this sentence. After thinking for a while he sneered. You're thinking too much. Do you really think that I released 1,000,000 ghosts because of you? Li Yunxin was unhurried. His expression was as usual. I'd like to hear the details. Speaking of this, Bai Yanjun let out a long sigh. Tell me what you know first. Then I'll tell you some things. But there are some things that you don't want to know now. Okay. Li Yunxin didn't hesitate. After thinking for a while he said, "That night when I saw you, you told me the method to take over Dragon Sun's body. During that time I noticed something unusual. That is, you seem to value that big ghost very much." It was the night after the Baohua Pavilion and Baohua gathering. That big ghost ate the great painter from the capital and wore his skin to the gathering. But during the gathering, Li Yunxin and Ling Kongzi saw through it and Li Yunxin kept it in his sleeve. At that time the big ghost was just a Yin spirit with some cultivation. Like all the ghost cultivators who escaped the net, it had a strong obsession. Although this obsession would weaken as the realm of cultivation increased, and the great ghost would become more rational, the great ghost would only have the cultivation of an emptiness realm expert. It could only harm ordinary people like young Master Qin who only knew how to use talismans but didn't know how to use talismans properly. Eating the great painter and wearing his skin to Baohua gathering, Li Yunxin couldn't believe it was a coincidence. Thus he put it away with the intention of properly interrogating it to find out if it was Ling Kongzi's scheme. But in the end he had to believe it was really a coincidence. That big ghost was the last emperor of the Yi dynasty, great Yi Zhaowu Emperor Lu Xingyang, who guarded the small court in the city of Wei for more than 60 years. Bai Yanjun said it didn't harm people but it ate people the night before. Li Yunxin interrogated it for a long time before he realized there was a secret. According to the big ghost, it received a promise from the Yama King in his dream because of something that happened when it was alive. He promised that the small court in the city of Wei would be prosperous until he died 100 years later. Unfortunately, when the Qing army attacked, massacred the city and killed him in the Golden Palace, the Yama King didn't show up. He broke his promise. After Emperor Yi died, the Yama King came personally to take his soul. Although the small court in the city of Wei was a small court, there were still 600,000 people in the city. At that time the Yi dynasty had only been dead for 60 years. In many poor and remote places, people still thought it was Ye's world. Furthermore, a large number of the old and young were loyal to the Yi dynasty in the city of Wei. They were only waiting for the day when the emperor's army was restored. Then the world would still be ruled by the Lu family. After Emperor Yi died, millions of people's wishes were added to his body. Although he couldn't become a great demon like Emperor Li, who was only one step away from entering the realm of forgetfulness, it was more than enough to become a true demon. When Bai Yanjun came to take his soul, the ghost of Emperor Yi asked him why he, the Yama King, broke his promise. However, the big ghost didn't remember why he had received the Yama King's promise. He remembered that after he questioned the Yama King, Bai Yanjun was also ashamed and said, "It's just fate." He said that since the Yama King didn't finish his life, he would make up for it with his own life. Emperor Ye's ghost was filled with hatred for the destruction of his country and hatred for the Yama King for not keeping his promise. He thought that he was the emperor when he was alive and had a higher chance of taking back his country. Now that he was dead, even the people in the city were killed because of him. How could he be dismissed with some life? The Yama King thought about it and changed his conditions. He said that he would allow him to be the emperor of the underworld in the city of Wei. The area within 100 li of the city of Wei would be his ghost country. As for the souls that died in the city of Wei, they were all counted as his people, and he would not allow them to reincarnate. He could be the emperor of this ghost country for as long as he wanted. Emperor Yi was happy when he heard this. How was he different from the Emperor of Heaven? It was just that he had fewer magical powers and a smaller territory. Thus he agreed. Who would have thought that after he agreed, half of what was originally a complete soul was immediately hooked away by Bai Yanjun. The remaining half became the big ghost that Li Yunxin had seen. It should have become a real ghost emperor, but it only became an empty realm muddle-headed ghost cultivator. This ghost cultivator had some limited memories from when he was alive, so he unconsciously hated everything related to the Qing Emperor. Before the great painter from the capital left, the Qing Emperor had bestowed the golden seal. The big ghost had followed the Qing Emperor's aura on the golden seal to find him. Without any explanation, it had killed him. However, the big ghost was hiding from its dragon son. Coincidentally, it learned that there was a Daotong master at the Baohua gathering, so it put on its skin and went. Thought that dragon son was also a demon. If he hid there, he wouldn't dare to come and capture it. The violent storm that night at the Baohua gathering had been because Dragon Sun had searched all over the city for it. That night, Bai Yanjun said to Li Yunxin that the big ghost did not harm people. This was the truth. This muddle-headed ghost only remembered that he was still the master of the city of Wei and that the people in the city of Wei were all his people. He also brooded over the massacre in the city and blamed himself. Why would he eat his people? He would only harm the birds and beasts. Over a month after his death, the Daoist priests of the orthodoxy came and used Dao techniques to seal and suppress the deplorable palace. This ghost emperor could not even return to his home. The remaining memory and reason soon disappeared. Finally, it became a ball of resentful aura with some reason. Hundreds of years passed in the blink of an eye. If ordinary people asked it about these things, the big ghost wouldn't remember. But Li Yunxin had other ways. He tried hypnosis. He had done this many times in the past. The so-called, completely forgotten, things were actually hidden in the depths of consciousness. As long as it could be awakened, it didn't matter if it couldn't be remembered. Li Yunxin tried this ghost as a ball of chaotic memory. The result was unexpectedly good. It was that night that he promised to do the first thing for the poor ghost emperor. He broke the seal of Daotong that suppressed the abandoned palace for hundreds of years. A few days later, on the night when he rebuilt the Dharmakaya of Chiwen, he used the yang energy of 300,000 people in the city of Wei to break the hundreds of years-old prohibition seal. Because of him, the ghost emperor regained some consciousness and was able to return to the abandoned palace. He became his most reliable ally. He first took in the soul of the old beggar, then summoned the ghosts of the soldiers who were suppressed in the abandoned palace, and promised to return a favor. So after that, the ghost emperor and even his subordinate Diwu Boyu became Li Yunxin's information source and intelligence center. As for the ghost emperor, he had indeed returned the favor on this day. After saying this, Li Yunxin stopped to take a breath and looked at Bai Yanjun. But I'm curious, why did you make a promise to the ghost emperor? After that, you clearly broke your promise once. Why did you harm him again? The White Hell Lord heaved a long sigh and stopped smiling. He turned around and said, "The adopted daughter of Golden Rock, Bai Yunxin, stopped people outside the Wilderness Mountain. It wasn't because of you, right?" "No." Li Yunxin answered him, "It was because of the ghost emperor." "Do you know why?" He refused to say. It's not that he didn't want to say, but he couldn't remember. Hee. I really can't remember. The White Hell Lord let out a shrill laugh. However, it sounded like self-deprecation or helplessness. The first time I granted him the prosperity of the nation, it was because of the adopted daughter of the Golden Rock. But the details, well, it's better if you don't know. Then the city of Wei was massacred and the Emperor Yi was killed. In fact, it wasn't because I broke my promise, but it was really the right time. It's better if you don't know the details. Li Yunxin rolled her eyes. Then why don't you tell me something that I can know? Alas. What I can let you know is that the second time I didn't break my promise. Bai Yanjun squinted his eyes and smiled. I said I wouldn't hook his soul and let him reincarnate. I said I would give him 100 miles of the city of Wei, and all the souls in the city wouldn't reincarnate. Which one didn't I do? I just said to hook half of his soul so that he would forget some things and not become a great demon of the realm. And the souls of those who died didn't reincarnate. I just hooked them to the netherworld. Bai Yanjun sighed again. But you did him a favor. He remembered your favor. He remembers your favor and then asks me for his people. These millions of ghosts are the souls of those who died in the city of Wei in the past 400 years. I gave them all to him. It's not a breach of trust. So, Bai Yanjun sighed with a sad face and looked at Li Yunxin mischievously. These millions of souls were given to the Emperor of Ghost because of the promise, not because of you. If you really have a trump card in your hand, I suggest you use it as soon as possible. Look, the Daoist is coming. Right next to Li Yunxin, the raindrops quickly formed a human silhouette. Chapter 194. The person who came was Kun Wuzi, an hour after they parted. The moment the profound realm Daoist clone appeared, he immediately said, "Tell me about Tong Fu and Lu Ling." He said this hurriedly, as if he was afraid that he would go back on his words and couldn't take it back. Li Yunxin smiled. The Daoist couldn't resist the temptation. The first time he refused to listen was because it was related to the two sages. It would be strange if he wasn't afraid of two old monsters who had lived for 3,000 years. Once he heard that it was the two sages' private matter, he refused without thinking. But, because it was the two sages' private matter, who wouldn't want to know? A Daoist at the advanced mystical realm must have gone through many tribulations, but Li Yunxin felt that curiosity was definitely something. Curiosity was just a narrow form of survival desire. As long as he was alive and had reason, he would definitely be curious. Thus, the profound realm Daoist didn't ask about the two sages, but asked about Yunzi and Ling Kongzi. He lied to himself, and Li Yunxin was willing to help him. Otherwise, how could he use him to do things for him? A profound realm Daoist. What a rare opportunity and resources. He exhaled lightly, still sitting on the roof, and said, "Cultivators talk about fate. I told you so many things before because I killed you, Yunzi, and I don't want to get into a conflict with you again. When I was in the sky, it wasn't finished. Now that I'm on the ground, it's already finished. Now that you came to me and asked me about it, if you really want to know, I can't just give you my information for free." Kun Wuzi looked at him. "I'm a mystical realm cultivator." "Don't act like that, friend." Li Yunxin didn't mind his words at all. "You're in the advanced mystical realm and I just entered the true realm. But what was the result? In the sky you should have killed me, but you didn't. Now you're on the ground asking me. Everything is your own choice. If you're still fixated on realms and abilities, thinking that they can decide everything, and if you insist on looking at me like I'm a child, then there's nothing left for us to talk about. Why don't you just kill me and take my treasures? Isn't that simpler and more direct?" But the problem was that in this world, force could not solve all problems. In fact, it can only solve very few problems. It had been a very, very long time since the sect leader of the Grotto Heaven had heard such words, to be taught a lesson. He was still a 15-year-old kid. However, after a moment of silence, Kun Wuzi wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled. "If you cultivate the Tao, you will be an even more outstanding person than Lu Ling." Unfortunately, he became a fiendish demon. "Alright, you can answer my first question. Yunzi is looking for the jade slip of illumination." Li Yunxin answered him immediately, "But the news seems to come from another source." This sentence was cryptic. However, it was enough for Kun Wuzi to understand that Ling Kongzi was also looking for the translucent jade slip. This also meant that the two saints were secretly searching for that thing. Translucent jade slip. Kun Wuzi didn't seem to be unfamiliar with this name. He repeated it in a low voice and raised his head. "That thing is in your hands. First, tell me, what kind of person is my mother, Shangguanyu?" Li Yunxin didn't answer but asked a question instead. The heavy rain was still pouring down, but this question caused Kun Wuzi to be slightly stunned once again. "You?" The several hundred-year-old Lao Dao said hesitantly. Your parents actually didn't tell you?" "Never." Sigh. Lao Dao sighed. "Ask me another question." The words he said and the way he spoke gave people an illusion, as if he wasn't a profound realm cultivator who might have killed Li Yunxin, but an old man who wasn't willing to talk about a certain topic. This attitude slightly surprised Li Yunxin, but it was also within his expectations. In the sky, when he mentioned his father Li Chunfeng, there was only astonishment in Kun Wuzi's eyes. But when he mentioned his mother Shangguanyu, the astonishment was mixed with some fear. Something that could make a profound realm Daoist feel fear must be an important matter. He never thought that the other party would really answer him. It was just to make the other party refuse so that he could make another request. Thus, even if it was a little too much, the other party could accept it. Thus, Li Yunxin smiled and said, "Then accompany me to see an old guy." Kun Wuzi looked at him in surprise. After a while he shook his head and smiled. "I didn't kill you for now. It's already a big concession. You should know that in your hands are the lives of 25 low-level cultivators of Dao Tong, a transcendent realm cultivator and a true realm cultivator. Now you want to borrow I's power? Do you want I to go with you to see that Emperor Yi? This matter, those 25 people are Yunzi's fault. I won't take it. And I'm not going to see the Ghost Emperor." Li Yunxin said seriously, "You are also interested in the Jade Slip of Enlightenment, but it's not with me anymore. You also know that the Jade Slip of Enlightenment stayed in Daotong and Kenzo for a while, but none of you can open it." Kun Wuzi narrowed his eyes and looked at him. "I can," Li Yunxin said without hesitation. "That's something that even the two sages couldn't do. I find it hard to believe that you aren't bluffing. You also know that it's something that even the two sages couldn't do. Then the question is the person who created the Jade Slip of Enlightenment really so much more powerful than the two sages that they couldn't do anything? That's obviously impossible. The answer is that the two sages couldn't find the right solution, but I have one. Li Yunxin stood up. Accompany me to see the Lord Dongting. I want a man and something from him. At the Lord Dongting's place. Kun Wuzi's eyes lit up. Naturally, he didn't think that Li Yunxin would hand that thing over to him easily, but he didn't expect that he could find its whereabouts so easily. He thought that he would have to go through threats and bargaining. There's nothing to hide. It's indeed at his place. Li Yunxin stood up and looked at Kun Wuzi solemnly. But first, from now on, I hope that you can really understand one thing, Li Yunxin said in a deep voice. I know how to open the Jade Slip of Enlightenment. This is my trump card. Now that I'm telling you, you can make good use of it. I don't care about the twists and turns in Daotong, but from Yunzi's actions, from the perspective of human desires, and from your reaction today, it's definitely not an amicable one. You first refused to hear the secret of the two sages and then regretted it. This means that a certain desire in your heart overpowered your respect for the two sages. So if you didn't excitedly run to the two sages to ask for credit the moment you returned to the mountain, you can't deny that my trump card is of great significance to you. Kun Wuzi smiled. But Li Yunxin didn't smile. He stood on the roof facing Kun Wuzi and said, You have to know that the current me isn't the me that was chased by people, and I'm not the me that hid in this city. I'm now the Wei River Dragon King, a great demon of the realm of truth. I own the city of Wei and I have a friend from the Ghost Emperor. I'm still the dragon's son and I know the secret that even the two sages want to know. The city of Wei and the Wei River will be my lair, and I also know Dao techniques. If that's the case, how do you see me? The smile on Kun Wuzi's face slowly disappeared. He pondered for a while and let out a sigh. We can't be allies. Even I talking to you like this is already going against the world's will. I don't expect to be friends. I'm just saying, you have to be careful with me. Li Yunxin pointed to the northwest. If we do this together, it will be a good start. Even if we have to fight and kill each other in the future, at least we can get what we need before we both lose. Both lose. Kun Wuzi smiled and shook his head. But in the end he said, I will go with you this time. When the rain reached the Dongting Lake, it had weakened a lot. Misty rain Dongting. This reminded Li Yunxin of the first time he met Red Lady. There was no misty rain that night, but it was still misty. And the second time he talked in the wooden pavilion by the lake and listened to the chirping of cicadas under the bright sun. He stood in the wooden pavilion for a while and then sighed in a low voice. The cultivator of the profound realm didn't know why he sighed, but he also looked at the Dongting and looked into the distance. If Ling can get it back, I can. Li Yunxin looked at him strangely. The person I want is not her. As for Lu Ling, you deal with it yourself. I've already told you that she is here. She wanted to kill me before, but I'm not that generous. He sighed again. I want that old thing's daughter. Chapter 195. Kun Wuzi is a little surprised. After a while he asks, What do you mean? Literally. Li Yunxin remains silent for a while and looks up at the sky. Then he whispers to himself, It's raining heavily. In this way many houses in the city will collapse. After saying this, his eyes suddenly turn golden. Fine scales appear on his cheeks and his black hair is mixed with white. Clouds and mist rise from his hair, like white hair fluttering and turning into mist. Sup? He shouts in a low voice. The rain by Dongting Lake immediately stops. It turns from light rain to drizzle and then into scattered raindrops. The thick clouds in the sky roll away, shrink and turn into wisps of white clouds. And the gray color that fades from the clouds seems to run into Li Yunxin's hair. The original black and white hair turns black again. The fine scales on his cheeks also fade and the golden color in his eyes also fades. He becomes a handsome young man again. As the thick clouds disperse, the sun comes out. Unfortunately, it's not the sun anymore. He and Yunzi fought in the afternoon and now it's almost dusk. The sky is dim and the sun sets in the west of the distant mountain. There is a whole red cloud on the mountain. Li Yunxin sighs, What a pity. Then he raises his head and takes a step forward, shouting in the direction of Mount June and Dongting Lake. I am Li Yunxin, the Wei River Dragon King. Where is the Lord Dongting? Come out and meet me. His voice rolled out as if it had substance, dispersing the mist on the surface of the lake. Wind and ripples appear on the water surface, and the flowers and trees near the Dragon King temple are shaken. People in Egret town also hear the sound, but they dare not come out to have a look. Although this place is far from the city of Wei, the thunder and golden light of the fight between Li Yunxin and Yunzi can be seen. At this moment, hearing the muffled sound, even the most materialistic people should realize that someone with the omnipotent has made such a big scene. It was also very likely that he was the Dragon King they had been worshipping for more than a month. However, the sound startled birds, beasts and humans. It even broke through the mist on the surface of the lake, but the Lord Dongting did not appear. Li Yunxin quietly waited for 3 breaths of time before shouting again. There was still no response. He turned to look at Kun Wuzi. I'm not giving you any face. The profound realm Taoist thought for a moment and asked Li Yunxin, is Ling really in this lake? Her cultivation was destroyed by Yunxin, but her soul was left behind by a magic treasure. I saw her in the lake before. She's in Muyun. Do you know what Muyun is? Kun Wuzi remained silent, but his expression gradually turned gloomy. It was obvious that he knew about the past. He stared at the deep lake and said in a low voice, then I'll have to offend you. This sound didn't seem to be directed at Li Yunxin. Although the voice was low, it was unexpectedly clear and loud. Then he took a step forward and reached out his hand. It was the first time for Li Yunxin to see the means of a profound realm cultivator. Kun Wuzi's hand was white and thin as if his knuckles were angular. First he put his palm up and slanted forward as if he was inserting it under something. After another breath he suddenly turned it over. Li Yunxin gasped, because he saw the sky above Dongting Lake. The sky was originally close to dusk, but now the blue color is a little yellow. However, the moment Kun Wuzi turned his palm over, the sky suddenly darkened. Because the lake water ran to the sky. As if the sky and the earth had been turned upside down, a thin mirror-like water surface appeared in the sky, extending from here to very far away. Li Yunxin guessed that the size of the water should be the same as the Dongting Lake on the ground. Kun Wuzi turned the water surface of the Dongting Lake to the sky. But things were not as simple as he thought. The next moment, the water in the sky began to pour. It was not a drizzle, nor was it a torrential downpour. Even the violent rain that Li Yunxin did at the Weishui River in the city of Wei couldn't be compared with this momentum. The water in the entire Dongting Lake from the water surface above the sky poured down. If this Dongting Lake was round, then there was one more pillar between the sky and the earth at this moment. If this Dongting Lake was square, then there was one more square pillar between the sky and the earth at this moment. The water in the sky hit the surface of the lake with a roar, making a loud noise that shook the earth. First, the branches and leaves of the flowers and trees fell one after another, and then the temple of the Dragon King collapsed in a violent earthquake. When water met water, the energy burst out like an explosion. The waves of water in all directions were like a sputtering torrent of metal, and the torrent was extremely sharp. The wooden pavilion they were in was close to the lake. Only for a moment, the wooden pavilion was completely destroyed by the rushing water, turning into the tiniest pieces. Both of them were submerged in the water. Kun Wuzi was fine, but even Li Yunxin's strong body, there was a crisscross bloodstain on his chest. He had never seen such a strange scene. The water column stood between the sky and the earth as if it was frozen. But in fact, the water in the Dongting Lake was carried to the sky by some mysterious and powerful force, and then it fell back into the lake. But even so, the water level of the lake didn't rise, and it even dropped slightly. It was really the water in the lake. Li Yunxin had retreated dozens of steps, but the terrible sound still numbed his ears. The sound of a huge waterfall is like thunder, let alone the water of the entire Dongting pouring down from the very high sky. It was definitely not darkness that could be formed by shadows. It didn't look any different from a scarlet carp, but such a big carp had already exceeded any common sense. Li Yunxin knew that this was the real body of Lord Dongting. But such a big fish that was poured out by Kun Wuzi from the sky only appeared in front of them for a short moment. Almost as soon as Li Yunxin saw it clearly, the big fish disappeared. A dazzling red light appeared in the air and quickly turned into a human figure. It was the Daoist Li that Li Yunxin saw on Mount June. This Lord Dongting didn't say anything after he appeared. Only when the lake water returned to the lake with a roar, did he appear by Dongting Lake with a flash of red light. Li Yunxin stared at his feet. He was about 3 meters away from the lake. The rumor was true. His nest was turned upside down, but he still didn't go more than 3 meters away from Dongting Lake. Wuxia was in the mysterious realm. It was said that Lord Dongting was also in the mysterious realm, but no one knew which stage of the mysterious realm he was in. Anyway, the mysterious realm Daoist's seemingly easy method had left a terrible and deep impression in Li Yunxin's heart. And Lord Dongting, a monster in the mysterious realm, who could trap it in this Dongting Lake for 2,000 years. At this moment, Lord Dongting was furious and his whole body was glowing with red light. He raised his eyebrows and his nostrils, which were not small, became bigger because of extreme anger. When he learned of Tan Wen's death, he exhaled steaming mist, but now even the mist became light red, like a cloud of fire. Wuxia, how dare you? Lord Dongting's voice was like the friction of charcoal, as if every word would make sparks spluttering in the air. I didn't want to talk to you, but you came to me. You are too much. The mysterious realm Daoist just smiled. Lord Dongting is also bold. He dared to embezzle our Daotong magic treasure and trap our Daotong cultivators. As far as I know, he also wants Miyun. Wuxia's voice became low. Lord Dongting, don't you know that there is a way to die? The two powerful figures in the mysterious realm confronted each other. Li Yunxin took 2 steps back and said nothing. Hearing Wuxia's threat, Lord Dongting was so angry that he laughed. Your Daotong cultivator Ling Kongzi killed Qi, one of my water nationality. Now you dare to come to me and ask for an explanation? Daotong is strong and can be unreasonable. But in front of me, I'm not afraid of you being unreasonable. This Dongting has a radius of thousands of miles. I have been managing it for 3,000 years. Do you think my mysterious realm monster body is like those little demons that you can bully and kill? Wuxia glanced at Li Yunxin and said. Li Yunxin didn't have time to stop him. Kiwen. Wuxia sneered, but she is still alive. But it's not your fault. Even I don't know how he took Wen's body. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't even think in that direction. Since this little friend can take Wen's body, he must be able to kill her too. In my opinion, my Daotong's Ling Kongzi and your water nationality's Wen were both tricked by him. Instead of venting your anger on me, why don't you vent it on him? For a moment, Li Yunxin really wanted to show his real body and escape back to the city of Wei. He didn't figure out Wuxia. At least he didn't catch him completely. He didn't know that Wuxia's words to Lord Dongting, saying that he took Wen's body and set up Ling Kongzi, were unintentional, and that Wuxia really wanted to hurt him. Maybe as a mysterious realm cultivator he had been used to great power and was not good at tricks. As a result, the matter of seizing Wen's body and plotting against Ling Kongzi was already an insignificant detail to him, something that he could casually mention. It was also possible that he really wanted to bring trouble to himself. Li Yunxin would tell him about it sooner or later, but not now. He wanted to use the momentum of killing Yunzi to make Wuxia talk with him temporarily. Then he would use Wuxia's momentum to talk to Lord Dongting, to get back what he wanted and get back the person he wanted. With enough understanding, he could guide him according to the situation. Wuxia should know all this. But now he didn't care about his situation and just casually said it as an interesting matter. Li Yunxin sneered in his heart. Before leaving the city, he told Wuxia some words on the roof of Wang Sheng's calligraphy shop. He hoped that Wuxia could face the power he had. But at that time, Wuxia only smiled faintly, and Li Yunxin wasn't sure if Wuxia really took it to heart. And just now this mysterious realm Daoist showed his magical power and told Li Yunxin, those below the mysterious realm are nothing more than mortals. And now, Li Yunxin completely understood. He didn't win the mysterious realm Daoist's respect from the beginning. Maybe Wuxia didn't make a move because of some things he knew, but it didn't mean that he regarded him as a well-matched opponent. He took a deep breath and sneered in his heart again. This feeling wasn't good. Furthermore, he would never be like a child who begged the adults bitterly, throwing a tantrum and throwing things to tell the adults, I'm really not a child anymore. He would never say the same words to Kun Wuxi again. He would use something real to make this profound realm Daoist pay the price for underestimating him. He would also teach him a lesson, to let him know that he could have been his ally once, but his foolish and stubborn arrogance had ruined that opportunity. It might be tomorrow or it might be 10 years later. But no matter what, he wasn't a generous person. Chapter 196. However, Li Yunxin didn't leave this place in the end. Because he was now sure that the restriction imposed on Lord Dongting was something that he couldn't break no matter what. Then he would just have to face the worst result. Anyway, his life had never been smooth. But after 2 breaths, he and Kun Wuxi were slightly surprised. Because of Lord Dongting's reaction. After hearing Kun Wuxi's words, this big demon of the water tribe was stunned for a while. The flame-like mist around him suddenly disappeared without a trace. He opened his mouth wide like a fish that couldn't breathe. Not dead. Have you seen it with your own eyes? Where is it? Kun Wuxi frowned slightly. Because he had said it clearly just now, Li Yunxin took Qi Wen's body. Therefore, the content of Lord Dongting's 3 questions sounded like sarcasm. But his tone and expression didn't seem to be sarcasm at all. And Jinjin was very concerned about where Qi Wen was. So after a moment of hesitation, Kun Wuxi said again tentatively, I have said it very clearly. Qi Wen is not dead, but she is not the Qi Wen you know. This little kid set up a scheme to take her body. This time he even raised his hand and pointed at Li Yunxin. Li Yunxin sneered, remembering everything that had happened at this moment in her heart. But it seemed that Kun Wuxi didn't care about what he thought. Lord Dongting didn't care about it either. Instead, he raised his eyebrows again and shouted angrily, Don't be deliberately mystifying. If you dare to use this to make fun of me, no matter what kind of Daoist master you are, I will make sure that you can't walk out of this Dongting. Where on earth is he? Kun Wuxi finally turned his head and looked at Li Yunxin. They saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Lord Dongting was not a stupid demon. Li Yunxin had dealt with him before. He knew that even if he wasn't a schemer, he wouldn't be unable to understand a single sentence. As for Kun Wuxi, he understood the Lord Dongting even more. He knew that this demon was not someone easy to deal with. But now, if the Lord Dongting wasn't deliberately mystifying things, then something unexpected must have happened that even profound realm cultivators couldn't figure out. Without waiting for Kun Wuxi to speak again, Li Yunxin looked at Lord Dongting and said calmly, The 9th young master is already dead. I plotted to kill him and then I took his house. Now I am Qi Wen. Lord Dongting finally turned his face to Li Yunxin. He stared at him for a while and sneered, I don't know what method you used to produce dragon qi in your body, but you are not hatred. He looked at Li Yunxin gloomily, but you are indeed a Yin god and not a human. What are you planning? They were not on the same channel. This was the only thought in Li Yunxin's mind. The conversation between the 3 people had an unexpected and strange situation. So far, Li Yunxin's conclusion was that as long as the topic was related to taking over Dragon Sun's body, it would be automatically ignored by Lord Dongting. And this strange situation was far beyond the understanding of ordinary people. But in the field that he had been involved in, it was achievable. But the problem was that in his previous world, it was quite difficult to achieve this, no matter what kind of intervention method was used. The physical and psychological state of the person being interfered with, as well as many other external factors, would directly affect the result. Not to mention, this world, a great demon like Lord Dongting. Before today, Li Yunxin had never truly seen the power of a high-level cultivator. Yunzi could be considered a high-level cultivator, but his stupidity and arrogance sent him into a trap, and the power he displayed in the battle was not even 1/10 of his own. But today Li Yunxin saw Kun Wuxi's means. The power of high-level cultivators was not in the aspect of power. It was not something that could be summarized as tyrannical, extremely fast, and abundant spiritual power. And this kind of Lord Dongting. How could such a situation appear in his body? The unhappiness caused by Kun Wuxi's contempt was quickly replaced by surprise. And this surprise was positive and positive. Li Yunxin took another step forward and stared at Lord Dongting. I took over Qi Wen's body. Lord Dongting also stared at him and sneered, You don't want to say anything? Do you think that I will be afraid of a Daoist just because you brought him here? Li Yunxin turned around and looked at Kun Wuzi. What's going on? The profound realm Daoist's face did not look good. He looked at Li Yunxin, then looked at Kun Wuzi, frowned and said, You two, the two of us are not in cahoots. Li Yunxin said sincerely. However, his words couldn't refute the truth. A profound realm great demon seemed to be controlled by some kind of mysterious power, acting like a puppet that could be toyed with by anyone. This matter made Kun Wuzi, who was also a profound realm cultivator, feel uneasy. Profound realm Daoists could be fearless when they thought that they could understand and control something. But profound realm Daoists also cherished their lives more than anyone else. When a situation that they could not completely understand appeared, one's life was not something that could be casually risked, especially when one had already spent hundreds of years of effort on this matter. Thus, after Kun Wuzi remained silent for a few breaths, Li Yunxin had a bad premonition. This profound realm Daoist seemed to be planning to leave. Just like how he didn't immediately kill a demon that had just advanced to the true realm because of the Great Formation, now he was also planning to leave because of a little unexpected situation. This was an overly cautious Daoist. Fortunately, this kind of virtue did not exist on Yunzi back then. Lord Dongting is also aware of the weird situation now. He did not speak, instead calming down from his extreme anger. Similarly, he wanted to understand what had happened between the three of them. However, Kun Wuzi finally opened his mouth. Ridiculous. After saying this, he raised his hand as if he was about to leave. It was at this critical moment that a sentence escaped from Li Yunxin's mouth. This time Kun Wuzi heard his words, and so did Lord Dongting. It was clear and short, but neither of them could clearly hear what he wanted to say. Seemed to be another kind of language. Li Yunxin repeated that sentence, then he raised his hand and wrote a few symbols in the air. This is the restriction of the Jade Slip of Clarity. Do you know that the Jade Slip of Clarity has a restriction? Just as he expected, this sentence stopped Kun Wuzi. The profound realm Daoist slowly lowered his hand and shouted in a low voice, I don't want to know about this. But you already know, Li Yunxin immediately replied him, and at the same time he turned to Lord Dongting. You should also know. The Jade Slip of Clarity is with you. You must have played with it before. After playing with it, your demonic energy will open it. Then have you seen this line of words? The line of words that he wrote with his spiritual energy in the air was actually floating there. Lord Dongting only took a glance at the line of words, and his face revealed a shocked expression. That thing is the Jade Slip of Clarity? I'm telling the truth. Li Yunxin spread out his hand toward Kun Wuzi. The Jade Slip of Clarity is with him. And I've seen the Jade Slip of Clarity before, so I know what the restriction is. He then turned to Lord Dongting. It is indeed this thing. The relic of the art saint, the thing that the two sages are looking for. It has been in Daotong for a very long time and no one has been able to open it. Even if they could open it, they wouldn't be able to break the restriction. Now that it is in your hands, you're in big trouble. Kun Wuzi might not be able to do anything to you, but since the two sages are here personally, you won't be able to do anything. Lord Dongting was stunned on the spot and he blinked his big eyes. I'm here for this thing, Li Yunxin said to him. And also Red Lady. Leave both of them to me and I won't tell anyone that you have it. Kun Wuzi can be your guarantor. However, after hearing his words, Kun Wuzi and Lord Dongting almost snorted coldly at the same time. What does this have to do with I? Lord Dongting also sneered. You little god, how would I know that you didn't see the jade slip by chance, and then casually made up some strange story to deceive us? My daughter. Give it to you? What a joke. Are you going to help me? Li Yunxin sighed and turned to look at Kun Wuzi. The profound realm Daoist smiled. The current situation is not within I's expectations. If you can explain clearly, this old thing must have been bewitched previously, then I will only consider it for a while. Don't force me. Li Yunxin took a step forward and stared at Kun Wuzi, then at Lord Dongting. I don't need the jade slip of clarity today, but Red Lady must have it today. Kun Wuzi stopped smiling. So what if I force you? Red Lady. Could it be that she has become your tribulation or inner demon, and you have just entered the true realm and your realm is not stable, so you want to quickly settle her matter? In that case, I want to see how you are going to convince this old thing. I have already called him out from his nest, isn't that enough? Li Yunxin shook his head speechlessly and sighed. He remained silent for a while, then looked at the two profound realm experts in front of him and sneered. The two of you seem to want to see me make a fool of myself. I can't defeat you, so I still have to beg you. But let me tell you, even a rabbit will bite when it's anxious. Kun Wuzi sneered. Li Yunxin ignored him and looked at Lord Dongting first. First of all, you have to know that the two sages really don't want others to know that they want the jade slip of clarity. That's why I wrote those words just now. That's why this person had such a blind dog's eyes. Then he looked at Kun Wuzi. The two sages have been working for so long, but still haven't opened the jade slip. It's because of this matter. He raised his hand and pointed at the line of words that was still floating in the air. Then he said slowly and clearly, this line of words means, how are you? This is the Rakshasa language. Writing, how are you? Once the jade slip of clarity is opened, dozens of small spots of light will appear on it. The key to unlocking this restriction lies in those spots of light. Before Kun Wuzi could say anything, Li Yunxin had already raised his hand again and quickly wrote a second line of words in the air. Then this line of words will be able to undo the restriction. Writing, I'm fine. Thank you. What I mean is I'm fine. Thank you. It's that simple. You just didn't find the right method. A strange expression appeared on Li Yunxin's face as if he really wanted to laugh out loud, but at this moment he had no choice but to maintain a cold and serious expression. Now the two of you know how to undo the restriction, but the two sages still don't. Do the two of you know what this means? The strange silence lasted for 3 breaths of time. You brat, you tricked me. Kun Wuzi took a deep breath and looked at Li Yunxin. Lord Dongting also widened his eyes. He looked at Li Yunxin, then at Kun Wuzi, as if he was hesitating whether he should make a decision or not. You forced me to do this. Do you think I'm willing to use this trump card? Li Yunxin laughed coldly. Now the two of you know how to undo the restriction. You might even doubt whether I'm telling the truth or not. Don't worry, let me tell you, it's absolutely true. If you don't believe me, you can go back and ask the two sages. But the problem is, the two of them want this item. If the Daotong and Kenzo work together, obtaining this jade slip of clarity would be as easy as blowing off dust. But they still allowed it to wander outside for so long, and even now they are still acting in secret. This means that this jade slip contains something that they don't want others to see. But now the two of you already know how to open it before they did. Li Yunxin sneered. Maybe the result wasn't so bad. Your two superiors only reprimanded you for a while and let the matter go. I believe that you really didn't have the guts to open the jade slip and look at it. You said that I'm like an ant, but in the eyes of the two sages, what are you? Kun Wuzi remained silent. After a while he said, I can still kill you now. Then Lord Dongting will probably be very happy to spread this information and kill you. Or maybe you don't know that I didn't arrange it beforehand. After I die, someone will still spread this information to the world. Li Yunxin turned to Lord Dongting and stretched out his hand. Give me the jade slip. The profound realm demon's expression kept changing as if he was still hesitating. Li Yunxin looked at him and said, there's a 50% chance that what I said is true. If what I said is true, then there's a 50% chance that the two sages will personally come to get it and kill you. In the most optimistic estimation, there's only a 25% chance that you'll die. But the problem is, do you dare to play with your life? Give it to me. After such a stern shout, Lord Dongting finally glared at him and stretched out his hand. Then a transparent small treasure appeared in his palm. Li Yunxin calmly looked at the treasure and smiled. Mr. Kun, have you seen it clearly? This is the translucent jade slip. Do you want it? Kun Wuzi's expression was very unsightly, but he didn't say anything. Li Yunxin laughed out loud. That's right. You don't dare to take it. I'm the two sages, so I'll definitely think that you've peeked at the thing inside. You don't dare to bet on that 25% chance. After saying that, he stretched out his hand. Lord Dongting immediately throws the jade slip to him, and then lets out a sigh of relief imperceptibly. It was as if he had thrown away a soldering iron. Li Yunxin held the jade slip in his hand. Finally, in his heart he also let out a long sigh. His tense body relaxed. Finally he got it back. But Kun Wuzi was still looking at him. Lord Dongting was also looking at him. The gazes of the two profound realm experts were like ferocious beasts that had locked onto their prey. They took in Li Yunxin's every move. Li Yunxin knew what they were waiting for. He infused his demonic energy into the jade slip. Then the jade slip lit up. A ray of light flashed across the jade slip and heavenly music sounded. Lord Dongting might have already tried it, but it seemed to be the first time Kun Wuzi had seen it. He opened his eyes wide and took in every detail. Then he saw the first line of words written by Li Yunxin. It was exactly the same. Then he saw Li Yunxin touch the dozens of small spots of light below the first line of words 18 times. Then he raised his head and looked at Kun Wuzi and Lord Dongting. I'm going to undo it. He touched the jade slip again. The 2 lines of words and the spots of light disappeared, and the surface of the jade slip turned light yellow. A few small, square-shaped patterns appeared. Li Yunxin wiped the jade slip with his hand, and it became a small transparent object again. I've undone the restrictions set by the painting saint. He smiled. I'll ask you one last time. Do you still want this thing? Kun Wuzi snorted. It's true. But you probably don't have long to live. After saying this he smiled. I won't kill you. Lord Dongting probably won't either. But everyone in the world will know that the translucent jade slip is in your hands. The 2 sages will know soon as well. When that time comes, so this is my condition, both of you. Li Yunxin said calmly. From the day I knew that the 2 sages wanted this thing, I never thought that I would be able to live comfortably. I also knew that sooner or later the whole world would know about this. But at least before the 2 sages or the 2 sages people find me, I want you to protect me and not be disturbed by those idiots who think they're smart. Do this, and when the day comes I won't talk about the 2 of you. You can sleep peacefully. I know what you're going to say, but why should you believe me? I also have the same question. Why should I believe that you will protect me? But my advantage is that I'm 15 years old this year. You 2 are more than 3,000 years old and one is a few hundred years old. If we die together. I have the guts and the means to drag you down with me. If the 2 of you think that you're ruthless enough, you can give it a try. Li Yunxin smiled lightly. After all, a man should be ruthless to himself. Kun Wuzi finally restrained his expression and looked deeply at Li Yunxin. Good. You're indeed an ambitious person. Li Yunxin tilted his head. What about you? The profound realm demon looked at Kun Wuzi, then at Li Yunxin. He realized that this shouldn't be a trap set by the other party. Kun Wuzi was famous for cherishing his life and being cautious. He would never use himself as a bait. He hesitated for a moment, then said in a deep voice, Tell me first. You said that Chiwen is still alive. What's going on? It's because I took his body, but you can't hear it. Li Yunxin sighed. Give me Red Lady first, then we'll talk about this. Let's talk about Chiwen first. Li Yunxin stared at him for a while, then helplessly put his hand into his pocket. After feeling it for a while he frowned and said, Damn it. Then he stretched out his hand in front of Lord Dongting and opened it. There was a reverse scale in his palm. Lord Dongting stared at the reverse scale for a while, then suddenly raised his head. This is... Give me Red Lady first, Li Yunxin said calmly. Then I'll tell you the truth. Chapter 197. Kun Wuzi sneered. Wails and cries could be heard from afar. Cultivators had good hearing, so they could hear it clearly. It was the people of Egret crying. The power of the profound realm cultivator caused the ground beside Dongting Lake to be shaken, creating several bottomless cracks. In this era, houses made of earth and stone were not very resistant to earthquakes. It was almost dusk and many people had started to return home. There must be a lot of casualties. However, Kun Wuzi didn't care at all. After all, no one like Ling Kongzi would tell him the first commandment. He watched Li Yunxin and Lord Dongting as if they were watching a play. He didn't care about Lu Ling, who was imprisoned by Lord Dongting. Ling Kongzi, who was at the peak of the transcendent realm, was indeed worth caring about. Because it meant that there might be one more true realm cultivator in Langya Cave Abode and Daotong. A true realm cultivator was a deterrent. However, Ling Kongzi, whose ocean of qi and mountain of snow had been destroyed and whose soul was hidden in the bell. He was an existence that did not matter. She is my daughter. Lord Dongting hadn't calmed down yet. and his eyes were still fixed on the reverse scale in Li Yunxin's hand. It seemed that he wanted to reach out, but he was hindered by the restriction. Don't think that what she said to you is true love. I taught her a lesson, but she was still my daughter. It's not your turn. I just want to talk to her and see if she is safe. Li Yunxin took back his hand and put the reverse scale back into his pocket. We are partners now. I think you won't refuse my little request. When he said this, he closed his eyes slightly. When Kun Wuzi saw his actions, he sneered. He wasn't the kind of person who liked to show his emotions on the surface. But the problem was that no one had ever made him, a dignified profound realm Daoist, suffer losses again and again. Therefore, when he saw Li Yunxin's action, he only thought that he was really aroused. At this moment, he really wanted to use this action to calm the surging emotions in his heart. At the very least, in his opinion, people who couldn't let go of the relationship between a man and a woman would definitely not have a very strong Dao heart. However, Li Yunxin was a fiendish demon, so he probably didn't have a Dao heart. Kun Wuzi was swayed by irrational emotions, while Lord Dongting was concerned about the reverse scale it had just seen. Both of them were profound realm experts, and they were usually very meticulous people. However, in the confrontation just now, a mere true state fiendish demon had left the two of them at their wits' end, and they had no choice but to temporarily reach a compromise with him. The psychological impact of this experience made them neglect many things at this moment. At this moment, both of them were intentionally or unintentionally releasing the intense emotions they had just endured and were in a state of extreme relaxation. They didn't seem to realize this. Therefore, they didn't pay much attention to what Li Yunxin did when he closed his eyes. He opened his folding fan and hurriedly waved it twice in front of him. This action was too common among scholars. When they were anxious, they would subconsciously do this action. Therefore, they didn't notice that after Li Yunxin opened his folding fan, he quickly glanced at the surface of the fan. It was originally a white paper fan, but now, it had turned into a colorful landscape painting. In the landscape painting, there was an inconspicuous little person, but now there seemed to be another figure. But it was an extremely faint shadow, as if the shadow was cast by his hair on the fan. And that shadow seemed to be coming here. After Li Yunxin said that, Lord Dongting rolled his eyes and said, "Even if you want to see him, you can't see him today. If you really want to see him, then come tomorrow at noon. Since you don't want to talk to me about Chiwen now, then let's talk tomorrow." After saying this, he turned around and said, "This matter is over. Forgive me for not accompanying you." As soon as he finished his words, his figure instantly disappeared and melted into the lake. Kun Wuzi frowned slightly. The old man left so suddenly. A moment ago he was looking at the reverse scale in Li Yunxin's hand with such an eager and intense look. But the next moment he suddenly said a few words and left. As soon as such a question arose in his mind, he heard Li Yunxin sneer. "He is smart." Kun Wuzi said with doubt. Li Yunxin looked around and found a boulder that was shaken out of the ground and sat down. "Because this matter is not over yet. Look at this pot." He stretched out his hand and drew the whole Dongting, the egret town in the distance, the wild forest, and even the city of Wei in the distance. Who will carry it? I plan to ask Yunzi to carry it. But now we are good friends, so I can't do that. Of course it can't be me. Then, someone has to be responsible for this matter. Li Yunxin raised his head and squinted at the ruins of the egret town in the distance. There was only smoke here. It should be that someone was making a fire to cook and the house was shaken down and caught fire. He waved his hand casually. Scales quickly appeared on his arm and then faded away. But a rain cloud had formed over the egret town, and it was drizzling. The black smoke disappeared after a while. "So you want to put the blame on him?" Kun Wuzi asked. "Yes. But he can't get out of the inhibition of Dongting. Everyone in the world knows this." Li Yunxin's lips showed a slightly mocking smile. "You said that as long as Dao Tong believes it, it's okay. It doesn't matter whether he can get out of the inhibition or not. If you say he did it, no one will think that a profound realm immortal will frame him with such a low-level reason. You just need to make sure that no one disturbs me during this period. When the two sages or their people come to find me, these things are not important anymore. Things are not as simple as you think." Kun Wuzi looked at the Dongting. "Don't think that this old thing is an ordinary demon. Some of his secrets, probably even the two sages don't know very clearly. After saying this, he was silent for a while. Then he said, "There is another person who is more suitable." A fleeting smile flashed in Li Yunxin's eyes. But then he frowned and opened the folding fan again. "Another person? Don't think about my people. I will never harm my own people at this time." Kun Wuzi smiled. "None of your subordinates can handle such a huge matter. What I want to say," Li Yunxin opened his eyes wide, "Ling Kongzi." It was a stupid idea. But he still had to say it. Because that figure hadn't come here yet. When he fought with Yunzi, they had sex. Everyone should know that dragons were here. And that Lord Dongting also regarded him as hatred that night. But when he saw him again, she bluntly told him that he was not Yazi. He must have known something. And just now that figure appeared in Li Yunxin's painting. The painting of mountains and rivers, which was made with the strength of the profound realm in an instant, could draw Yunzi's ghost in it. Naturally, it could show him many things. There were no satellites in this era. But now Li Yunxin's folding fan had become something similar. The land around the city of Wei was on his folding fan. Then the faint figure that appeared on the fan meant that there was spiritual energy or resentment in that guy's body that Li Yunxin used to set up the array. In other words, when Li Yunxin was setting up the array, that person absorbed part of the resentment of the millions of ghost soldiers. But fortunately, it didn't affect the overall situation. And now this guy was coming here. Earlier, hatred was injured and disappeared. And this Kun Wuzi suddenly appeared near the city of Wei. Li Yunxin already knew who it was. He was unfamiliar, second brother. The real hatred. Therefore, when Kun Wuzi heard his words, he was slightly stunned. Then he sneered, "You demon. Why are you so stupid now? Do you know that there is a big demon in the Wei River?" Li Yunxin opened his innocent and clear eyes and quickly glanced at the fan. "Who? Oh no. Let me guess, is it that Ghost Emperor? Oh, that's also my friend." Kun Wuzi couldn't stand his sudden stupidity, and sneered. Just when Li Yunxin looked at the fan for the third time and closed it without batting an eyelid, he said, "Hee. That Ghost Emperor is not important enough. I mean, hatred. That cheap second brother of yours." Li Yunxin was stunned for a while, then he straightened his face and said in a deep voice, "No. Absolutely not. As a dragon's, I am related to hatred by blood. Maybe there will be fights and schemes in the future, but at least at this moment, I will not do such a thing." Kun Wuzi was stunned by his righteous actions and words, as if he had seen a ghost. To him, seeing a ghost was more normal than this. He frowned, "Are you making fun of me?" "I'm serious," Li Yunxin said seriously. "Although I look like an unscrupulous bad guy, I'm a good, upright and kind young man in my bones. If I do such a thing, how can I live in the demon world in the future? Speaking of me, oh, that guy, the guy who killed his own brother. You cultivators think that demons are heartless, but are they really heartless? The 9 sons of the Dragon Emperor have been living in peace for 1 to 2,000 years. If they are really heartless, even if there are other great demons in the world, how hard is it to kill Qi-Wen in the transcendent state?" Li Yunxin sighed. "So not only can I not push this matter to him, but once he comes to Wei River, I have to protect him. First, it is always a wise choice to build a relationship with a strong one." Li Yunxin raised his head and looked at Kun Wuzi sincerely. "After all, we are blood brothers." Kun Wuzi looked at Li Yunxin as if he was looking at an idiot. "You are a demon who has taken over my body. Do you really think that you are dragons?" Li Yunxin looked at him blankly. What body taking over? This matter sounds... Why can't I remember?" Kun Wuzi's expression changed instantly. His body flashed and appeared in front of Li Yunxin. He grabbed his hand and shouted, "You can't remember? Body taking over." He shouted, "You were originally a human, but you schemed to take over Qi-Wen's body. Before that, he was called the 9th Young Master, also a great demon." What did you say?" Li Yunxin frowned as if he was thinking about what Kun Wuzi said and some things in the past. But in just a few sentences his frown disappeared. Looking at Kun Wuzi now, it seemed that he was even more unreasonable. "What 9th Young Master? My name is Li Yunxin Qi-Wen, one of the 9 sons of the Dragon Emperor." He forcefully shook off Kun Wuzi's hand. The body of a profound state Daoist was strong, so it was not easy to get rid of him. But now, Kun Wuzi looked at him in disbelief. He even forgot to use his strength and let Li Yunxin get rid of his hand. Li Yunxin retreated a few steps, then frowned and looked at him. Then who do you think it should be? But no matter who it is, don't have any ideas about the dragons. Kun Wuzi stared at him for a while, then said in a low voice, you took over his body. He didn't say anything else and only looked at Li Yunxin. Seeing that Li Yunxin waited for a while, he impatiently sighed, I still have a lot of things to deal with. It's fine if you don't want to talk about it, I'll leave first. At this moment, Kun Wuzi finally confirmed that the same strange and terrifying situation had also appeared on Li Yunxin. Because of some terrifying power or law, he also lost his sensitivity towards any topic related to body taking. Also ignored it. The profound state Daoist felt a chill on his back, because of those things that he didn't understand, or rather, the power that he didn't understand. There was only one thing he was afraid of. Would he be in the same situation in the near future? This kind of indescribable fear made him reach out and try to grab Li Yunxin. Stop. But just as he finished speaking, he heard a low and powerful voice coming from the north, from the pile of broken bricks and tiles from the collapsed Sanhika Dragon King Temple. Someone wants to slander me? This is not a wise move. The slightly panicked expression on Kun Wuzi's face immediately faded. He took a deep breath and took a step back. That person walked out. He was tall and straight, wearing a yellow robe. It was silk and well cut, accentuating his strong back and thin waist. There was a sword hanging on his waist. This was relatively rare among cultivators. Dao Tong occasionally used a sword to defend himself, while Kenzo specialized in sword techniques. But the former usually kept his thin sword in his sleeve, while the latter usually carried it on his back. Only those who used a sword to show their status in the secular world would do this. But this person was obviously not a secular person. Because his eyes were blue. Blue eyes were on a white face, but they did not seem feminine. Because his face seemed to have been carved by a knife and axe with sharp edges. This was a square face with thick eyebrows and big eyes. His black hair was tied with a golden silk crown. This was also not the style of a secular person. Because in the secular world, people would only wear this thing after death. But perhaps the owner of the golden silk crown felt that this kind of dressing was more suitable for his yellow robe. He walked until he was 10 steps away from Kun Wuzi and stopped, looking at Li Yunxin first. And Li Yunxin also frowned slightly and looked at him. The two looked at each other for a while, and the yellow-robed man laughed heartily. What a good ninth brother. Second brother will remember your friendship just now. Li Yunxin was slightly stunned and then blinked his eyes. You? The yellow-robed man who called himself second brother then turned to Kun Wuzi and stopped laughing. You want to kill me? You have great ability. Now that I have returned to the profound realm, I really want to ask you, how should this matter be resolved? Chapter 198. Li Yunxin didn't know what had happened before. Kun Wuzi had chased hatred to this place. But he could already deduce what to return to the mysterious realm meant. Hatred was injured in Tongtian Swamp. He was afraid that Dao Tong would beat him when he was down, so he escaped separately with Emperor Li. He must have met Kun Wuzi again on the way, so he was chased by the head of Langya Cave all the way here. Previously he should have been at the peak of the true realm. Then he absorbed part of the resentment of the millions of ghost soldiers and returned to the mysterious realm. What he deduced was indeed the truth. This Kun Wuzi was also a Jinren who had achieved enlightenment in 100 years and had seen bloody battles. When he first saw hatred he was surprised, but he quickly recovered his calmness. He laughed and saluted. Lord Tong, what are you talking about? At first I was just itching to play with the Heavenly Lord. Now that Lord Tongtian has returned to the mysterious realm and we are brothers, I won't disturb you anymore. Well, how dare you? Hatred sneered. Li Yunxin knew that hatred's reputation wasn't good. People said he was cruel and tyrannical. But now that he saw him, he felt that at least he didn't seem to be the hatred in people's hearts. His appearance was very good. It made Li Yunxin want to make a joke like, you with your thick eyebrows and big eyes, can be cruel and tyrannical. And even if he was sneering now, he still looked righteous. At least he looked completely different from the evil charm of the ninth young master. Hatred sneered at this righteous Lord Tongtian and said, it won't be so easy for you to leave today. Although Ben Jun is a magnanimous person, I won't forgive just anyone. You ambushed me in Yi Kingdom and chased me all the way to Qin Kingdom. If I let you go, how can I frighten all the demons in the world? It's just that before you die, you still have a quarter of an hour to talk properly. What do you want to push the blame onto this monarch? Kun Wuzi smiled calmly and waved his sleeves. His body was immediately plated with a layer of misty golden light, and a faintly discernible image of the 8 trigrams appeared behind his head. In the 8 trigrams, the black and white fishes moved ceaselessly. For a moment, all the chi activity and spiritual energy within 10 steps around him were dispersed, turning into nothingness. Li Yunxin had never seen a profound realm Daoist priest's serious attack, so he didn't know how powerful this move was. However, he still wisely flew back 20 feet, determined not to participate in today's battle if possible. After Kun Wuzi finished his technique, he said, "As for the matter." He thought for a moment, then looked at Li Yunxin and said in a deep voice, "This 9th brother of yours may not be your biological 9th brother. His real name was Li Yunxin and he was a human. He plotted to kill your 9th brother and took his body. I would like to remind the Lord Tongtian that you might also be taken over by him. The body of a profound realm great demon is a good thing." After saying this, he looked at the reactions of Li Yunxin and the Lord Tongtian. There was no reaction at all. The two of them were still staring at him, as if waiting for him to speak. Kun Wuzi felt the coldness on his back become even heavier. It was as if a huge invisible shadow was pressing down on him from behind, making him, a profound realm Daoist, feel uneasy. What kind of power could actually do this? Thinking about this, he didn't want to talk to the Lord Tongtian anymore. His figure flashed and he wanted to escape into the sky. But he heard the Lord Tongtian shout angrily, "You want to leave without saying a word? Do you really think you can leave?" When he said this, Kun Wuzi had already appeared 100 meters high in the sky. However, Long Sun's speed was obviously faster than him. The bright yellow figure on the ground flashed and blocked the direction where Kun Wuzi was going, slapping down with its palm. This Daotong cultivator didn't want to fight with him and he didn't want to fight with him. A profound realm Daoist against a profound realm Daoist, unless he was currently at the peak of the profound realm Daoist. Once the fight started, it wouldn't be described as endless. The body of a true realm Daoist was already strong, and their souls were hard to destroy, let alone a profound realm Daoist. Kun Wuzi's figure immediately disappeared, and in the blink of an eye he appeared in another place 100 meters away. However, the speed of the dragon's son, hatred, was still faster than him. Once again, it turned into a stream of light and blocked his way, slapping down with its palm. In less than a breath's time, in the time that Li Yunxin blinked his eyes, the sky was already covered by a layer of misty water vapor, as if it was a cover made of white silk. Due to Long Sun's high-speed movement and the cone-shaped mist that was produced when he broke through the sound barrier, it connected and formed a cloud cover. In such a short period of time, Kun Wuzi had already been blocked by hatred dozens of times. Even the most patient person wouldn't be able to endure this. After Kun Wuzi finally fought fiercely with Long Sun, he flew back to the ground and said angrily, "Can you stop? Even if I fight with you for 3 days and 3 nights, so what? Do you think you are still at the peak of the profound realm?" Hatred stood majestically in the air and sneered again, "I can't stop you by myself, but I still have helpers. The 2 of us can stop you." Kun Wuzi looked at Li Yunxin and said, "Him? Humph. He's just a true realm Daoist, isn't he afraid of being smashed into pieces?" Hatred laughed heartily. He turned around and landed next to Li Yunxin. Then he touched his sleeve and took out a dagger that looked like a fong. Then he used the dagger to draw a circle beside Li Yunxin's feet. "9th brother, don't be afraid." Li Yunxin, the second brother with thick eyebrows and big eyes, said to him in a deep voice, "Just stand in this circle and it will protect you from being hurt by us. Just watch how I kill this stinky Daoist who is making things difficult for us. Then we can have a good talk about our brotherhood." However, Li Yunxin felt a little uneasy. He felt that his uneasiness came from his wrong estimation of hatred. Hatred seemed to be completely different from what he had imagined. But, if he was a human, he might believe that he was really like this. But he was a demon. Among the demons, would there be such a character? From the beginning to the end, he had been trying to observe hatred's subtle expressions. Although the information and details he obtained were not enough, if he had to come to a conclusion at this moment, it would be hard for him to believe Long Ervi hatred was indeed such a person. Forthright, passionate and not bothered by trifles. What kind of demon was he? Li Yunxin took a deep breath and smiled. Okay. When he spoke, his voice was frivolous and his tone rose. After you kill this stinky Daoist, I will tell you something more interesting. The two of them talked, leaving Kun Wuxia aside. The Taoist in the mysterious realm snorted. Protect him? You animal, you don't know how deep and terrible this kid's schemes are. If I were you, I would kill him right now. Otherwise, you will regret it one day. Hatred still ignored him. He walked a dozen steps to the left, stepped on the messy ground and walked to the Dongting Lake. Then he turned around and looked at Kun Wuxia. Stinky Daoist, you should have seen the helper I am looking for just now. I am now in the mysterious realm of Xi, so I can't kill you. But if I have a helper in the mysterious realm, things will be different. The old guy in the lake was already in the mysterious realm of Xi 1,000 years ago. Though I don't know what level he has reached, but it is said that he likes to eat humans' essence and yang qi. After 1,000 years of accumulation, he is probably not much inferior to you. Ben Jun's other helper is him. Don't you know that Lord Dongting has been imprisoned in the Dongting Lake for 2,000 years, and he can't go more than 10 feet away from the lake? Kun Wuxia looked at him with a gloomy face. How can you ask him to help you? Let's not talk about whether you can ask him to come out or not. Even if he comes out, I think that old guy doesn't want to get involved in this matter. Being an enemy of I means being an enemy of Daotong. Do you know what it means to kill I at this time? Hatred stopped laughing. He stared at Kun Wuxia for a while and shook his head. The expression on his face seemed to be sarcasm and sympathy. It is said that human cultivators are always smarter than demons, but I don't think so. You know that Lord Dongting is imprisoned in this lake, and he also knows that he is imprisoned. The whole world knows this. But it has been so long, 2,000 years. Why doesn't anyone think about why he is imprisoned? Your lifespan is short, only a few hundred years. The two old fellows on your mountain have lived for thousands of years. They should know the truth, but they didn't tell you. Since they don't want to talk about it, you shouldn't think about it or ask about it. Hey, humans aren't bad. It's just this kind of muddle-headed little thing. Dizzy. I'm used to it. Hatred paused and pointed at Dongting Lake. Today I will tell you why this old thing is trapped here. The moment he said this, Li Yunxin and Kun Wuxia were stunned. Did Hatred know this secret? However, the profound realm Daoist priest knew that Long Erzi's words were indeed true. The fact that a profound realm great demon had been imprisoned sounded unimaginable. But it was also because this matter had been, for far too long. Soon the short-lived humans were no longer surprised by it. When human practitioners learned Taoism, they would always learn some common knowledge about some great demons in the world. There would also be seniors who told them what realm a certain demon was in and what kind of demon was like. For the practitioners who had just entered Taoism, every demon was not ordinary. After all, demons were not human, so it was normal for them to be eccentric. It was a strange thing that the Lord Dongting was imprisoned, but was it strange that no one had found the nest of the golden-winged rock? And so on, it became common knowledge. Imprisoned. This was the label of the Lord Dongting, and it had almost become a part of him. Some people were curious and asked why the Lord Dongting was imprisoned. However, the two saints knew about this ancient secret but didn't say anything. How could they find out the truth? So no one was curious anymore. Until this moment, Kun Wuxia was stunned and said in a deep voice, "You are talking nonsense." Humph. Hatred snorted with a smile and turned to the 1,000-mile Dongting that had been turned upside down not long ago. His voice was like muffled thunder. "Lord Dongting, today is your time. If you want to leave this place, come out and see me quickly." Previously, Li Yunxin and Kun Wuxia called him, but they hadn't seen him for a long time. But today, when this hatred called him, a tall water column suddenly shot out from the lake. Lord Dongting, who was in red, appeared on the water column in the blink of an eye. He looked down and saw Hatred. Then he plunged over and rushed to the front of Hatred with clouds and mist. He said, "Are you serious?" Li Yunxin and Kun Wuxia were really stunned at this moment. Hatred seemed to be telling the truth. He seemed to have an agreement with the Lord Dongting. Hatred smiled and turned to look at Kun Wuzi. Of course it's true. It's also a coincidence that you have suffered enough today. It's also a coincidence that when I wanted to release you from this sea of bitterness, I was stopped by this stinky Daoist. Otherwise you would have been released earlier. But since it's such a coincidence, help me kill this stinky Daoist. Kun Wuzi already knew that what Hatred said just now was not a lie. At this moment he didn't have the time to think about why Hatred could release this Lord Dongting. Instead he clearly knew that once Lord Dongting was released he would really help that demon, and he would be in real danger. So he said in a deep voice, Emperor Li has committed a great sin in Li Kingdom. I, Dao Tong, haven't questioned the demon about that matter. And the reason why I chased you all the way is also because of that matter. There is one more Shen realm demon in the world, but Dao Tong lost 5 Shenren. Therefore Dao Tong needs an explanation and also needs balance. He looked at Hatred, then looked at Li Yunxin. Today there is one more true realm demon in the world. It's in the city of Wei. Dao Tong and Kenzo still don't know about this. But once they know, there will inevitably be another wave. Fortunately, I have talked to your 9th brother and promised him something. I will go back to Dao Tong and think of some ways. Maybe there is still room for us to change this matter. But if I die here today, we will lose one more true realm and one more Shen realm. Kun Wuzi looked at Hatred seriously. Dao Tong, Kenzo and the demon will no longer be able to live in peace. It will be a catastrophe like the one that wiped out the painting devil 1,000 years ago, or even worse. You have to think about it carefully. If you kill I today, it will be a declaration of war against Dao Tong and Kenzo. It will be an all-out war until one side is completely destroyed. You demons, do you think you can withstand a full blow from us? After saying these words, he looked at the 3 people in front of him coldly. There was a moment of silence. Hatred turned to look at Lord Dongting, then at Li Yunxin and laughed. This stinky Daoist is afraid. But I'm not afraid. Dragon Sun sneered. War? That's what I want. Lord Dongting, will you help me? But he didn't get a firm and quick response as he had imagined. Lord Dongting reached out his hand to stroke his beard. It seemed that what Kun Wuzi said just now calmed him down a little. These things. This 3,000-year-old Shen realm monster said slowly, if I kill him and Dao Tong comes to attack, my cave well is still in Dongting after all. At that time if Lord Tongtian escapes, it will be difficult for me. Kun Wuzi smiled. Yes. Lord Dongting's idea is a mature one, not just based on his own will. Even if he escapes, what's the point if he loses his life? Chapter 199. Your cave. Hatred seems to hear something funny. You have been imprisoned here for 2,000 years. Do you still want to stay in your cave? He reached into his sleeves and tossed something into the air. Look what this is. Lord Dongting can't get out of Dongting, but others can come in. What Hatred throws out is a small plate. It's golden in color. It doesn't look regular. The plate falls into his hand. Li Yunxin, Lord Dongting and Kun Wuzi all focus on the plate. But it's more like a fragment than a plate. It was like a small fragment that had fallen from a very thick and very large piece of glass. It had not been specially sculpted. It's half the size of a palm, thick on one side and thin on the other, and the edge is circular. Golden. Brilliant golden. This plate doesn't emit light, but it seems to absorb light. It absorbs all the brilliant gold in the world, making it so bright that it can't be ignored. It's not dazzling. Li Yunxin doesn't know the origin of this thing, but Kun Wuzi and Lord Dongting look at Hatred at the same time. Lord Dongting's calmness disappears. He stares with his round eyes and says with a trembling voice, This is it? Yes. Hatred nods solemnly. Dragon God token. With this token, you can go anywhere in the world without hindrance. You can go wherever you want. No one dares to stop you. Hatred looks at Lord Dongting deeply. I know you have a place you want to go. In cave? What's the use of it for you? Go anywhere without hindrance? It's just a joke. Kun Wuzi snorts immediately. Not everyone will buy this thing. Do you think you are going to see Shinryu? If Shinryu didn't appear in the world, how many demons in the world would really respect you for this broken scale? Even though you're a profound realm spirit demon, it's exactly because you're a profound realm spirit demon that no one dares to let you pass through them. However, Lord Dongting didn't seem to care about Kun Wuzi's words. He stretched out his hand and rubbed the dragon's scale for a while, ignoring Kun Wuzi's words. Kun Wuzi didn't say anything because he saw the person beside the Lord Dongting. Dense water vapor was produced, almost covering his entire body. Li Yunxin blinked. He had seen this before, when he told the Lord Dongting about Qi Wen's death. After a quarter of an hour, the mist dissipated. Lord Dongting stood up straight. He had already put away the dragon god token. He looked at Hatred and his voice became calm and steady. How to break the seal? What do you need me to do? After hearing this, Kun Wuzi didn't say another word and flew away. This time it was different from before. The yin-yang fish 8 trigrams that kept rotating behind him suddenly broke into pieces and turned into a gray streamer. This streamer wrapped his body, and he disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye like a gray sharp arrow at a speed far faster than before. And Hatred only had time to raise his hand and sprinkle a golden light. But the golden light was immediately penetrated by Kun Wuzi, and it was only stained with some starlight. This dragon son sneered, "Stinky Daoist, you really cherished your life. Is that his magic weapon?" "Natal magic weapon," Lord Dongting said in a deep voice. "If he broke this magic weapon and ran away by absorbing the Reiki, you indeed couldn't catch up with him. But it would also damage his cultivation. He wouldn't fall, but he would be easier to deal with than before. He has already escaped. What a pity. It's such a good opportunity." But Lord Dongting smiled. "Escaped? Where can he escape to? My lifespan is 3,000 years. If he wants to, he can't escape from this Dongting. What do you think this is?" Lord Dongting turned over his palm and a small mirror appeared in his palm. It was neither gold nor wood and it didn't have a regular shape. The surface of this small mirror was blurry and seemed to be covered with a layer of water vapor. It didn't look clear and smooth and there were some black spots on the surface. And the shape of this mirror, Li Yunxin looked at it for a while and realized what it looked like. Like this Dongting lake. The next moment he realized that he guessed right. Lord Dongting shook his hand and the mirror flew into the air. It grew with the wind and it expanded 5 or 6 times. At this time it could be seen clearly that this was indeed a miniature Dongting lake. The islands and hills in the lake were the black spots before. The layer of water vapor on the surface of the mirror was indeed the water vapor of Dongting Lake. And by the side of this small lake, there was an extremely tiny black dot flying about. The reason why he could see it was because there was a long gray shadow behind the black spot. It was Kun Wuzi. "You have such a treasure?" Hatred looked at the mirror with great interest and pointed at it. "You couldn't get out of Dongting for 2,000 years. Where did you get this thing?" "It's an old thing. Lord Dongting didn't answer but just muttered to himself with emotion. Li Yunxin found that his eyes were full of complex emotions when he looked at this small mirror. He had seen a lot of demons since he came to this world. But Lord Dongting was the first one who had such complex emotions in his eyes. Even he couldn't describe it in detail. The name of this treasure is Smoke Wave Dongting Painting. Lord Dongting's tone became the same as when Li Yunxin first met him, calm and unhurried. It seemed that once this Smoke Wave Dongting painting appeared, the whole world was under his control. Or maybe this treasure reminded him of something. Li Yunxin knew that people who were immersed in the past always had more calmness and sadness. With this painting, no matter how far he escaped, Lord Dongting said. He reached out a finger and inserted it into the mirror. It was really like inserting into the water. His whole finger went into the mirror. He will be pulled back. As soon as he finished speaking, he stirred the water with his finger. A water column as thick as a chopstick suddenly sprang up from the small lake. It caught up with the little black spot in the air in the blink of an eye. At the same time, a deafening sound rang again. From the Dongting lake behind him, a huge water column that connects the sky and the earth rises up like a wall. However, the water column didn't rush out of Dongting obliquely. Instead it went straight into the sky. However, somewhere in the sky, it disappeared inexplicably. It seemed that there was a cross-section there. The little black spot in the Smoke Wave Dongting painting was wrapped by the water column and pulled back slowly. As for Kun Wuzi in the real world, although Li Yunxin couldn't see it, he knew that it was probably the same situation. Seeing this scene, Hatred let out a low voice of admiration. He pointed at the vivid painting. This is this is Ling Tu. Lord Dongting sighed. This is my treasure. Hatred didn't know what kind of concept Ling Tu was, so he just marveled at its magical changes. As for Kun Wuzi, he should have heard of this thing, but it was hard to say whether he had seen it or not. Li Yunxin was the only one who truly understood what this represented. When Taoist Danqing of the painting school painted, he could make a treasure scroll in the transcendent realm. When he reached the peak of the transcendent realm, he could make a treasure scroll. That day in Xianxia building, he made a perverted eating painting as a joke, which was a treasure scroll. And Ling Kongzi's body was full of precious magic weapons. After seeing his treasure scroll, Ling Kongzi also treasured it seriously. After entering the real state, Taoist Danqing could make Ling Tu. And the reason why Ling Tu was called spirit was that it could interact with the real world through the painting. Was the 1,000 miles of river and mountains and rivers painting on his folding fan a Ling Tu? Yes. Yunzi's soul was sealed in the painting, and he could also see Long Erzi and hatred coming here in the painting. Some things that happened in the real world could be reflected in the painting. But Lord Dongting's Ling Tu smoke wave Dongting painting could do more things. It could already affect the real world. Just like just now, it entangled and pulled Yu Yunzi's soul clone, who had destroyed his natal Dharma treasure, back to the real world. This should be the work of Taoist Danqing of the mysterious realm. A mysterious realm. At least a mysterious realm. Taoist Danqing made this Ling Tu, and it was taken by Lord Dongting. Li Yunxin realized that there should be some stories that he would be interested in. It said that Lord Dongting entangled Kun Wuzi with this Ling Tu spell, and then he turned to look at hatred. So now how can I get out? At this time it is completely dark. The sun finally sets on the other side of the mountain, but the moon is still hidden in the west. Kun Wuzi turned Dongting upside down and poured a huge amount of lake water from the sky. The water vapor didn't disperse, making the moonlight hazy. In such a hazy light, Li Yunxin saw hatred and laughed. It's called a confinement, but it actually wants you to guard a big treasure. You have been guarding this Dongting for 2,000 years. Well, today is the time. Do you know who asked me to free you? Hatred smiled and showed his teeth shining in the moonlight. For some reason, Li Yunxin suddenly felt nervous when he saw him like this. He remembered the 9th young master. He was now a big demon in the real realm, and the 9th young master was just at the peak of the transcendent realm. But he was the only one who had ever given her such pressing pressure. That was the pressure of life and death. At this moment, Li Yunxin saw his teeth and smile, and he thought of the 9th son of the dragon again. He inexplicably felt that the atmosphere was a bit weird, so he slightly clenched the folding fan in his hand. Lord Dongting didn't say anything, so hatred smiled and continued. It is Shinryu. Shinryu, you have come to the world. Right now, the true dragon wants to see you, not to mention that once you're free, you don't have to give this cave to me. This young master. This monarch can then cultivate in peace and recover his cultivation level. Before you leave, you have to give that big treasure to me, and I will continue to guard it. As for you, you can leave. Li Yunxin frowned. He didn't know if it was his illusion or he was nervous because he was between two big demons in the mysterious realm. He felt that the word "this young master" that Yazi accidentally said sounded very familiar. Chapter 200. Lord Dongting carefully looked at hatred in the hazy moonlight, pondered for a while, and then said, this is a big deal. So it was also that Shinryu who taught Lord Tongtian how to break this restriction? Yes. Hatred smiled and then looked at Li Yunxin. Because of this, my 9th brother needs to help. He walked to Li Yunxin's side and looked at him. Hatred was smiling. Li Yunxin saw his smile clearly. During the day, Hatred's smile was sincere and bright. It wasn't just the feeling. Even an expert like Li Yunxin couldn't see through it. After all, he was an expert who could see the subtle expressions of Kun Wuzi. But now, looking at his smile, it had become very strange. It was a fake smile. A smile full of malice, a smile of impatience, a smile of cruelty and tyranny. At this moment, this smile was hanging on Hatred's face. He stared at Li Yunxin and didn't look at Lord Dongting. He said slowly, this restriction can only be broken with the strength of 2 dragon sun. My 9th brother was in theft in the Wei River. No one would have thought that he was actually used as a key. Li Yunxin also looked at him. Then he reached out his hand and touched it. Earlier, hatred used a dagger to draw a circle around him, to prevent him from being affected by the fight between profound realm cultivators. Now the circle worked. A golden light appeared with a buzzing sound as if it was a cylinder made of halos, and it stopped his hand from moving forward. Li Yunxin sighed. Then second brother, what should I do with this key? Why don't I know? Lord Dongting looked at the two brothers talking, and then looked up at the sky. There was a speck of light in the northwest. Within the smoky ripple cave painting, Kun Wuxi's body was still fighting against the water pillar, and his momentum was slow. There's still time. He stroked the 2 strands of beard by his lips and said, doesn't the Lord Tong'an know about this? This Li Yunxin was not Chiwen. It was a Yin god who found a way to disguise himself as your 9th brother. As for your 9th brother, he is already dead. Hearing his words, hatred immediately sneered, still staring at Li Yunxin. Oh? 9th brother, is this true? It was a sad story. Although we, the 9 dragon son, are all dragons, we have never met before. 2,000 years ago, 2nd brother was in theft to the Tongtian Sea. 1,000 years ago, 9th brother was in theft to the Wei River. 2nd brother really can't tell if you're real or not. Or... Hatred came closer. If it wasn't for the light barrier, his forehead would almost touch Li Yunxin's. He stared at Li Yunxin's eyes, and a pair of blue eyes seemed to be twinkling like stars. Or, what you said before was fake? The two of them stared at each other for a while. Li Yunxin suddenly took a step back and smiled. 2nd brother, you must be joking. 9th brother's feelings for you are deep. Yazi burst into laughter. After laughing for a while, he suddenly stopped. Then 9th brother, your friendship in the end, will it kill 2nd brother? For example, 2nd brother wants to live, but that Kun Wuxi is chasing after him. Li Yunxin said in a low voice. While chasing, he said, please stop. I just want to play with you. Stand still and let I poke 49 holes in your body. I promise I won't kill you. 2nd brother, will you kill him later or stand still and let him poke you? You know, maybe that Kun Wuxi is really just playing with me. Hatred was silent for a while and stepped back 2 steps. He looked at Li Yunxin. What a deep friendship. Then Lord Dongting, I will save you now. The method is very simple. The finishing stroke of your inhibition in Dongting is drawn with Dragon Qi. Now it will be destroyed with Dragon Qi. Such a little Dragon Qi. Not too much, not too little. If there is a dragon at the peak of transcendent state here, he can refine his body. After breaking the eye of the circle, another dragon son can guide 2 streams of Dragon Qi out, and the inhibition will be broken. If there is a dragon in the real state, it will be even better. He looked at Lord Dongting with a sneer. If my 9th brother is real, it will be a plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone for Lord Dongting. You and my 9th brother have been together in Weishui River and Dongting for 1,000 years. Although he isn't that dirty usually, I guess my 9th brother doesn't have any good thoughts in his heart. Who would like to have an old demon in the mysterious realm by his side? Lord Dongting doesn't like him. It's good. After killing him, Lord Dongting can go to Shinryu with the dragon god token. I will be happy to stay here. Li Yunxin looked at hatred calmly. Or, at least during the day he should be hatred. Yama King seemed to be unclear about some things. Or he might be hiding it on purpose. The 9th young master is not completely dead. Li Yunxin was willing to believe his intuition, even if he didn't find any solid evidence to support it. Hatred, hatred at night, hatred after sunset. He was the former dragon son, Qi-wen, the 9th young master. After hatred said these words, Li Yunxin showed his Dharmakaya without saying a word. A burst of green light flashed. Clouds and mist rose around him. Water vapor soaked his greenish-gray scales. A pair of red antlers stood on his forehead, and the branches were dotted with golden light. He showed up but still didn't say a word. He pursed his lips and stared at Lord Dongting with a pair of golden eyes. Gambling on something. Gambling on something he was not good at and couldn't even understand. Seeing his Dharmakaya that belonged to Qi-wen, Lord Dongting slowly widened his eyes, slightly opened his mouth and even wanted to raise his hand. But it was just a movement and he quickly put it down. Lord Dongting glanced at hatred. Li Yunxin saw some light in his eyes. He said, I have a lot of things to tell you. Many things that you can't imagine or understand. When he said this, his face was covered by a thin layer of water vapor. It was not clear whether he was looking at Lord Dongting or hatred. But no matter what they look like. No matter what they look like, their names, there's one thing that won't change. Humans have emotions and so do demons. This thing won't change. Even if they never talk about it. After saying this, he fell silent. Hatred also fell silent for a while. He stared at Li Yunxin as if trying to figure out the meaning of these words, or whether they were true or false. He believed these words, as if they were said to him. Lord Dongting, who was beside him, had the same thought. Thinking of the words Li Yunxin said when he first met Li Yunxin. That's why, he probably only told me. He's a proud person. Some feelings are hidden in the bottom of his heart. He might be afraid of being laughed at if he said it. However, there was only one time. He drank too much and said that in this way river, there was only one person that he wanted to be close to but couldn't. Lord Dongting, a 3,000-year-old profound realm demon. Not to mention wisdom, just the amount of danger he had experienced was probably more than all three of them combined. When he first met Li Yunxin, the things he did and the things he said to him, even now, it was impossible for him to completely believe that this Qi-Wen in front of him was the Qi-Wen from before. However, he couldn't completely believe it. He had 99% doubts in his heart. But he still had a little hope and hope. Li Yunxin just wanted to bet on that, something that he was not good at and didn't understand. And the reason why he dared to bet on this was that the ninth young master was indeed a demon who couldn't understand people. There was a subtle but common relationship between the ninth young master and Lord Dongting. It was this relationship and the powerful strength of Lord Dongting that allowed them to coexist peacefully for thousands of years. But now it had become a fatal loophole. Lord Dongting knew some things that the ninth young master didn't. And today, this difference in information became the only straw in this desperate situation. Hatred, who might be the ninth young master at this moment, kept emphasizing that Li Yunxin was his ninth brother. After a few moments of silence, Hatred spoke first. Who knows? Ninth brother. Humans had stomachs and so did demons. If you don't dig out your heart, I won't be able to see it clearly. Lord Dongting, have you thought it through? I'm going to save you now. Chapter 201. In the dusk, Lord Dongting stares at Li Yunxin for a while. Then he waves his hand. You two are blood brothers. At the same time, he glanced at the painting of Misty Dongting. The reason why I can live in peace for 3,000 years is because I am careful and cautious. Lord Tongtian is also an unparalleled demon. Now he comes to my Dongting and gives me the dragon token. Real. He says. Lord Tongtian wants to tell me that Shinryu appears in the world. He gives me this token and asks me to meet him. Well, Shinryu is the common lord of demons, so I can't disobey him. But Lord Tongtian says that when I leave, he will hand over Dongting to you. Such a big thing. I have to think about it. He sighs slowly. After all, it's hard to leave my homeland. Hatred doesn't seem to understand why Lord Dongting suddenly changes his mind. He squints at Lord Dongting for a while and then stares at Li Yunxin for a while. He sneers. What? Are you afraid that I set you up? Hey, you think too much. Because I don't know if Lord Tongtian is also a son of Shinryu. Lord Dongting narrows his eyes. His black eyes turn into two thin lines and says with a smile, for example, I used to think that this Li Yunxin is disguised as Dragon's son. But now it turns out to be true. Now Lord Tongtian does have some dragon chi. But I don't know if it's a disguise. But I don't need Lord Tongtian to show his real body or Dharmakaya. After all, I'm imprisoned in this Dongting lake. Maybe I can use this smoke wave map to do some small things, but if a profound realm demon is here in person, I won't be able to see through it. The old demon says, but in this Dongting lake, there is a treasure that can identify the real dragon chi. Lord Tongun, why don't you put some wacken into the lake so that I can see if it's real? Yazi looked at him in confusion. He didn't know why this old thing was so excited just now, but now he was able to restrain himself. But he glances at the little black spot in the smoke wave painting. They have been talking for a quarter of an hour and the doppelganger of Kunwuzi is about to be pulled back. It would take a lot of effort to kill the soul clone of a practitioner who had reached the peak of the mystical realm, and Yazi didn't have the confidence to do it alone. Above the mystical realm, the difference between each stage was even greater. He is in the mysterious state of Shi. Today, if he doesn't have the confidence to persuade Lord Dongting, a big demon, to fight with him, even if it is just the spiritual incarnation of Kunwuzi, he has to avoid it. This is a rare opportunity. If he can injure Kunwuzi's real body, Kunwuzi won't chase after him. After all, cultivators are more rational and quick-witted than demons, which means they value their lives more. Because of such a good opportunity, hatred sighs, "Good, good, good. I know you are cautious, Lord Dongting. Tell me what to do." Kunwuzi's doppelganger is going to be caught. Lord Dongting smiled and said, "It's also very easy to do. I'll go out. Once I step out of this restriction, the magic circle will be activated. At this time, Lord Tongtian will hit the restriction with his wacken. He must use all his strength, so that the wacken will be transmitted to the eye of the circle. My treasure is at the eye of the circle, and we will know whether Lord Tongtian is the son of Shinryu or not." Hatred frowns and thinks for a while, suspecting that this is a trap. But soon he shrugs and says, "Okay. I'll do as you say. Lord Dongting, please." As soon as he says this, Lord Dongting immediately takes a step out. As soon as he steps out, a layer of golden light shield appears in front of him. Countless tiny and complicated runes flowed on the light shield in front of him. Each rune emitted a dazzling light the moment it appeared, and then turned into spots of light. In just a breath's time, his body seemed to be surrounded by a layer of golden fog, tightly wrapping around him and constantly pulling him back. Lord Dongting's robe is fluttering and the silk cloak is flying. Even the 2 strands of beard on the side of his lips seem to be making a loud sound in the golden wind around him. He shouts again, and immediately 81 pieces of scale shields with bright red light fly out from his body, forcing the golden fog back a little. At this moment he roars, "Yao!" Dragon Sun Hatred immediately waves his hands, and a stream of wacken is sent out, hitting the fog in front of Lord Dongting. However, when the wacken from the mysterious realm Big Demon touches the golden fog, it is like a clay ox entering the sea. Not even a ripple can be caused. Lord Dongting frowns and shouts again, "Is that all you have? Huh. Kunwuzi is coming." Yazi's eyes widened as he looked at the painting of the Misty Ripple Cave. After a glance, he immediately turns his head to look at the sky. Hundreds of meters in the sky, a figure wrapped in water vapor is rushing down. In his heart he was both anxious and angry. He shouted, "You old thing, why do you have to make trouble like this? Quickly help me kill that Kunwuzi." After he shouted, he really used all his strength. With a buzzing sound, the earth and rocks within 10 steps were all turned into powder. Then they were turned into a whole field of green light by the violent, overflowing spiritual power. This mysterious realm Big Demon's all-out attack seems to tear time and space apart. Li Yunxin, who is only 3 steps away from him, can see that the light circle around him is about to fall from the impact, and it is about to break soon. Hatred stops his attack and shouts, "Can you do it?" In the golden fog, Lord Dongting laughs 3 times, "Yes, yes. You, a mysterious realm Big Demon, helped me open such a gap. Why can't I do it?" Hearing his words, Hatred feels a little strange. But before he can figure it out, a small part of the golden fog in front of Lord Dongting suddenly dissipates. This 3,000-year-old Big Demon suddenly reaches out a hand and smashes the inhibition spell that Hatred previously set around Li Yunxin with lightning speed. He grabs one of Li Yunxin's arms. Then he pulls Li Yunxin into the golden fog. Then he waves his big sleeve and takes the Smoke Ripple Cave Garden painting floating in the air into his palm. He shouts, "The doppelganger of the Daoist has been brought here for Lord Tongun. Lord Tongun, please deal with him first. I'm leaving now." As he is speaking, he has already grabbed Li Yunxin's wrist and rushed to the center of the lake. By the time he finished speaking, the 2 of them had already submerged into the water. Hatred has no idea what happened. Looking at Kunwuzi, who has just fallen, and then at Dongting Lake, he turns around and wants to chase after him. But he only runs 3 steps. With a buzz, he actually bumps into the light circle that trapped Lord Dongting just now. Hatred growls in exasperation and finds another direction to rush into the lake. But after trying several times, he realizes that this Dongting Lake, it had actually been sealed. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.